Pressing the button, Frank. All right, the light is green on YouTube.
I see you streaming on YouTube.
The panel has assembled. We are going to go live with CoCoTALK episode 96 in 3, 2.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
Six in 3. This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer, with your host, Mr. Can't Get Past Level 1 in any game, Stevie Stroh. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to CoCoTALK episode 96. We're here on a Saturday night. Do you know where your parents are? I don't. But we're here. We've got the panel has been assembled, and we are getting ready for some magnificent quality entertainment programming and broadcasting for you this evening. And that's all available to you if you just switch over to your television and switch to Netflix.
I was just going to say, I'm on the wrong show. I'll see you later.
Bye. But in the meantime, if you're here, you're going to get us and whatever it is. Tim Franklin just showed up, said, hey, hiding in the corner here. So we're here. It's Saturday night. It's 8 o'clock, our new time. And I think the new time's working out for most of the people, with the exception of the United Kingdom. But the rest of us seem to be doing okay with this time zone here. We have with us on a panel. It's a light panel right now. Maybe a few people will show up in a bit. We usually got a larger assortment of the Hollywood squares, but we'll start in the top left with Mr. Mark Bosley himself. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
How are you?
How you doing?
Doing wonderful, and wonderful shirt you're wearing there too. I love it. You got great taste in clothing there. So
gotta see the whole thing here. There we go. Right.
Shameful plug, available at our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. Get your CoCo shirts today.
There, so
hey,
right there.
Joe Burnett just showed up. Hey, Joe, how are you? Welcome to the program. We have with us from O Canada. L stands for lovely Curtis Boyle's with us. Good evening, Curtis.
I wish that was true, but it's not even factually correct.
I could say another word, but it would be very nice.
Lazy Curtis Boyle?
Coming from Bill, that'd be a more pleasant one, I would think.
Yeah. Now, talk about dedication. This guy's a little under the weather. He's not feeling completely well, but he's still with us. Our celebrity interviewer, our booking agent, the Timberman himself, Ron Delvaux. Good evening,
How
Ron.
you doing, everybody? I do have an item that I purchased from you guys.
Hey, look at that. It's the CoCoTALK coffee
and then,
mug.
I supported Radio Shack by buying the shirt. So
there you go. Radio Shack needs our support. And look at that, the travel mug, the deluxe travel mug, too.
Isn't it awesome that you can actually buy something from Radio Shack?
It is. It is.
It's cool.
It actually is. All right. We also have with us, we'll save the best for last. He just joined us here. But beneath Curtis Boyle, Curtis's partner in crime and somewhat neighbor in the Canada area too, Bill Noble. How's it going, eh?
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
How's everybody else?
We're doing good. You sound a lot more loud and clear now than you did a minute ago too.
Yeah, I switched headphones.
Okay, excellent. Now we have the Thunder from Down Under, the game developer, the owner of multiple Ferraris, the pilot star who pops or whatever he is, but Nicholas Marentes is with us. G'day, Nick.
Hey, g'day. How are you all? It's me here, sitting upside down, about 15 hours ahead of you guys. So anyone who wants tomorrow's lotto results out there, just send me an email. I've got them all here.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
I wish it was that easy, Nick.
Yeah, I wish.
Well, the big joke that Nick does is he always sends the wrong numbers. He just picks the numbers himself. That's how come he's got two Ferraris.
Hey, Wayne Aaron just stopped by. Tony Palm and other fellow Australians here. We also have our two guests of honors tonight too are here, so I can mention that. So Craig Stewart, Nick's neighbor from Australia, is here. G'day, Craig. How are you? You're muted. You're still muted.
Okay, how's that sound?
Better. Unmuted.
Okay. G'day, mate, I was going to say.
G'day. All right. And
finally, someone who can speak properly.
It's about bloody time, ain't it? Yeah.
And we also have with us another CoCo game developer who we'll hopefully be able to speak to this evening too, but Paul Shoemaker, the creator of the game that's sweeping the nation, Dungeon Crawl, is here. Good evening, Paul. How are you?
Hey, good evening, guys. How are you guys doing?
All right. Actually, I think our Australians now outnumber our Canadians. We now have Bryza's here too. How you doing, Bryza? He's muted, but he's waving at us. Okay, so we're saying hi. We'll say a good day for you on your behalf. The hell was that? Did anybody else hear that besides me?
Yeah.
No freaking idea what that was. All right, that's how you say good day, huh? All right. Well, we're here. We're live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. There are 21 people watching us right now. I want to apologize in advance, but thanks for being here. And so let's jump in, and I'm glad that both Craig and Paul are here. And so we're going to just talk about, and so Craig, we're delighted to have you. You joined us a couple weeks ago, and we've been wanting to talk about some of your programs. And I did a video on one of your games, Space Marauder, which you were so kind to say I did so horribly at. So I don't know if we'll do any better tonight. Curtis and I, we actually looked at everything last night. So we looked at the games. I've read the manuals. I don't know if it's gonna make a difference or not. But what do you think we should do first? Should we maybe show off a quick clip of Pursuit and Space Marauder for those who haven't seen it, and let them see what these little titles look like, and then we can talk to you about them, Craig? You want to do that, or you want to just maybe talk?
That sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to switch over. I got my CoCo fired up here with my switcheroo cable. I got to find it. And,
try to remember, have we done a kind of a biography of Craig yet?
No, to my knowledge, I don't think we have done a biography of Craig yet.
Kind of interesting to hear. I got into the CoCo and actually started producing games that were sold through Radio Shack.
Yeah, sure. What, right now?
What other stuff's on that CoCo?
Oh, that's nasty, that noise.
All right, so we're going to make your video maximize here, Craig, so we can see you and nothing but you right now. All right, so we're looking at Pursuit. Now, it says here, press button to start. Do I have the right button? This is what I love about CoCo's, right?
Press any button, I think. I don't know. I wasn't too good on instructions when it came to games. Well, maybe you press the joystick button.
Yeah, but I might not be in the right one. Let's either left or right, so I have to... If only somebody came up with a joystick that had a switch that could switch between left and right on the fly, huh?
Or even better, if only somebody plugged in two joysticks at once so they're prepared.
Yeah.
Well, then you need a Matchbox because it does that auto switching.
We need to increase the budget of the show for that. All right, real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the volume on that, just because it's.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So how about we start off with a little bio from Craig? Tell us your little backstory when you got into computers and into programming and stuff like that.
Okay, well, I probably started like most people here. It was back when I was a teenager. My mother was working in a shop that sold candy products at the time. We just started to get introduced to computers in high school, so I was kind of keen to see what they could do. And after playing a few very primitive sort of games, like, I don't know, Lunar Lander, remember that one with a ticker tape type output? It was quite a sort of very old mainframe type game, but that was my introduction to gaming on a computer. And then my mother decides to come home with a Tandy color computer one day after work, and then that's where my interest started, I guess.
So what year would this have been? Would that have been like 81, 82, 83?
Yeah, look, it probably wasn't the first year it came out. It probably would have been 82. 82 sounds about right.
Okay.
So look, it was just a 16K extended basic model. pretty basic. And obviously, once I started to get involved in typing in programs for magazines, I started to get more involved in how they worked. So it was probably a couple of years after just typing in games for magazines. I decided to try to make a few of my own games. By that stage, as with many Australians, I'd subscribed to the Tandy, the Australian CoCo and the Australian Rainbow magazines. I was always kind of jealous that we couldn't get the American versions because the Australian ones were very stripped down, very black and white and very basic sort of cutouts of the American Rainbow. But nonetheless, that certainly exposed us to some great programs and some great ideas. And so after spending countless hours and days typing in listings from other people, I started to do the same thing myself, write my own software, and that's what got me into it. So I must have probably submitted, 10, 20, 25 articles to the CoCo and over the magazine over many years. A lot of those were games, some of those were utilities. But I guess what got me interested was eventually I kind of read a couple of articles about machine coding and assembly language, and that got me into the, I guess, space where you could actually start to do games that were running at a reasonable speed. And I think about the same year, Tandy launched a competition as part of the Australian magazine subscription, and they invited everyone to send in some games. I think that year I sent in a game called Tangle, which was one of my first machine code games. It didn't win, but nonetheless, it was a fun game, and a lot of people said it was a great game to play. It's kind of like a two-player game, a bit like, I guess, Tron, where you've got two light cycles heading towards each other, and you just basically try to cut each other off. So I was kind of encouraged by that because people gave some good feedback about the game. And then the next year, after the CoCo 3 was launched, I entered the competition again, and we put together a game called Pursuit. And so that was my first attempt at a CoCo 3 game. That Pursuit game won the competition, which is great. That was certainly an ego boost and a little bit of a financial windfall as well. Tandy, I think, paid $1 per copy that they sold in the stores. They sold it for about $20. But nonetheless, that gave me a bit of pocket money and encouraged me to try again the next year. So the next year I wrote a game called Space Marauder, and that won too. I'm not sure if the competition was quite as strong that year, but that certainly sort of was another little feather in my cap in terms of encouraging me to go ahead and do some more programming. And I think for that year I just got a bunch of other sort of prizes. I don't think the financial sort of side of it was so good, but nonetheless, it was still good to get some feedback from people who played it. So that's kind of my bio.
Okay.
So were those last two games, Pursuit and Space Marauder, were those sold through Radio Shack in Australia?
They were sold through Tandy. Yeah, both of them sold through Tandy Radio Shack Australia. I don't think they ever sold them overseas outside of Australia. From memory, I think they might have sold 2,000 or 3,000 copies in Australia. But nonetheless, I think most of you guys have stumbled across on those games now, which is great.
Did you keep your machines, or do you still have them?
Look, that was probably one of my biggest regrets, is that probably after the CoCo 3 started to sort of go into decline, I, like many other people, I guess, I tried the next sort of level of machine, which was an Amiga at the time, and I sold my CoCo 3 and all the hardware that went with it. So unfortunately, a lot of that hardware, all of the source code and everything has been largely lost. Although I think Nick found some of the source code a little while ago for Space Marauder, which was good.
I think I do have it, and I think I might have got it off Curtis. I'm not sure.
Not the source. I've never seen the source for it.
Oh well, I'll have a look and double check and send you a copy.
Nick's definitely got the source for it. The thing is, back in those days, I never used any of the mainstream assemblers. I used an assembler from Tino Del Borgo called Bass Assembler.
Yes.
So it's written in Bass Assembler, which for those who don't know, is just basically like Tandy Basic, except that you can insert assembly language in your basic programs. And it was a really easy program to use if you knew how to type in basic programs. It was exactly the same thing. I think Tino had just patched into the normal basic so that you could insert assembly language or machine code inside your basic program and jump into it and out of it anywhere in the basic program. So I actually wrote all my games using that assembler.
Neat.
And
I've tried looking for it as well, but it's hard to find.
Yeah, look, it's gone. I think it's gone forever. I've actually tried to email Tino a couple of times, but no response from him. And there's nowhere else to be found. So, look, it was a great little program, and I'm amazed how versatile it was, how easily you could mix BASIC and assembly together, and you could do something in BASIC for the graphics, and then jump into some machine code to do some fast stuff, and then jump back to BASIC again. So, it was a really versatile little program. It's a bit of a shame that it's gone missing.
Cool. So after the CoCo days, did you develop for any other systems? I mean, you mentioned you went onto the Amiga. Did you write some games or programs for the Amiga?
Yeah, look, it's funny. Once I got to the Amiga, look, it was a fantastic machine, but I never programmed for it. I could just never get my head around all of the hardware inside the machine, and that was pretty well the end of my programming days for a while. I actually entered a career as an engineer, and eventually, after doing that for a couple of decades, I figured out a way to merge my passion for programming back into my engineering career. And now I actually write software for my own little company. Again, drawing from a lot of the stuff I used to do in the CoCo days. So it's interesting to look back on those days and then look at how much you've carried forward from the Tandy CoCo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into my modern career. And in fact, some of the software I write down now, it's very serious engineering software, but I put in little Easter eggs that people can enter game modes and then blow things up, which always surprises the hell out of people when they look at the software. And it always brings a smile to my face when people find out about those sort of things.
Yeah. Speaking of Easter eggs, we found a couple of when we were going through the manual for Paul Shoemaker's game Dungeon Crawl. So there's one of the characters looks like the guy from Dungeons of Daggerath.
That's right.
And so that pops up. And then when you go to the inn, it's the Avalon Hill Inn. So that was kind of cool. Those are a couple of neat little nods that we saw there. So yeah, Curtis and I, we were looking at the game last night. And I did you see the message I sent you on Facebook, Paul? I don't know if you check your Facebook Messenger.
I didn't see it on the Messenger. I'm not very good at the Messenger thing.
Okay, that's fine. And so we'll save that for off the air just because. So I remember the first time I looked at Pursuit, and here's this is the manual for Pursuit. This was very classic of the time, right? The classic kind of typewritten or like line printed page here. I read it, but I don't know. There's a lot of words that give me a headache. Maybe you can just, maybe we'll just try to jump in and we'll take a look at the game and you can give us some pointers. We'll take a look at Pursuit. This is the first one you sent that won the competition, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think you mentioned this was based on a game called Christians and Lions or something like that.
Yeah, if you look at the old, TRS-80 Model 1 basic games, there was a game called Christian versus Lion. It was published in the magazine. Very simple game. You just move the cursor around, and you had 4 or 5 other cursors that used to chase you until they got you, basically. So the idea was to try to dodge them. It was all very slow, step-by-step type back in those days. But the idea sort of intrigued me and kind of inspired Pursuit, which obviously is a much faster game.
I don't remember what the hell I'm doing on this one here. We got to try to kill these guys with our shields.
Okay, so in Pursuit, you've got 2 modes. The first mode is basically called the dodger mode, where you've got to avoid them. But you have a shield, and so when you press the joystick button down, you can ram your ship against them. That causes them to sparkle and break down, and eventually they'll explode. Or a better tactic is to ram them into a wall while you're pressing your shield, and that quickly basically makes them sparkle and explode. So if you can sort of position one of those spinning blades against the wall and then ram it into the wall while you're using your shield, you'll find that they quickly destroy.
Okay, but I've switched screens now. So am I on a screen where I'm supposed to be shooting my laser or something?
Yeah, okay. So the second one, once you've blown up those 4 spinning discs, I don't think you've done that yet, have you? So, okay, I think you just blew yourself up. Okay, so the idea is
so
basically...
my damage is high now.
Yeah, that's right. You'll see the little gauges on the left-hand side. So the idea is to basically use that first screen to... either let them destroy themselves just by letting them bounce against walls, and eventually they'll just wear down and blow up. Or you can accelerate it by using your shield and ramming them with your shield on. And the best thing to do that is to ram them into a wall while your shield's on, and that blows them up very quickly. So once you get rid of those 4 blades, you then enter the second screen where you can shoot them.
Okay, which I may have screwed up by now.
Yeah, I think you might have just blown yourself up. So, yeah, that's a terrible sound, isn't it? I don't know why I came up with the sound.
And the I wonder if the palette was set for RGB or not, or maybe I haven't set my computer to RGB.
No, the palette was set for RGB, but it does randomize the colors every game. So
okay,
probably doesn't look that nice, but it still mixes the colors up a bit. So yeah, in Australia, I think most people we went with the RGB mode. Nick, you can probably comment on that.
Yeah, they were. Even our composite was actually RGB.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm on screen 1. In screen 1, you just want these guys to blow themselves up.
Okay, so on screen 1, either dodge them or use your shields and ram them against the wall. So you kind of very carefully maneuver yourself so they're drawn towards you. But you obviously don't want to waste too much of your shield either, because you'll see that gauge on the left deplete.
Okay, and if they don't touch me, they can't hurt me.
Exactly, yeah. So every time they hit a wall, you'll see some sparks come off them. That means they're wearing down, and eventually they'll blow themselves up.
They blow it up real good.
Yeah, that's the one. But if you want to make it, yep, there goes one. But if you want to accelerate it, just ram them with a shield on, and that'll blow them up faster.
That's screwing with my energy, though, too.
Yeah, you got to have your shield. Yeah, exactly. Your shield energy will go down while your shield's on, but that's okay. It gets replenished every round.
Okay, so and there's one left. So he's going to bounce a few times, and then he'll die.
He should do. Or you can help him along his way if you want. There we go. Okay, so mode number 2 comes up now. Now, this is the shooting mode. So you don't have shields in this mode. When you press your button this time, if you're moving in that direction, it'll actually fire something and hit the blades that way.
I see.
You got to be moving towards the blades when you fire, though. And you'll notice that when you hit them, they bounce back a little bit too, so you can sort of push them away.
Yeah. And that's the only way to hurt them in this round here, right? Because they're not going to sparkle themselves to death.
Actually, I still think they do, from memory, although I can't see the sparks coming off.
Okay, one of them just blew up.
Okay, so they must still damage themselves when they hit the wall. But once again, you can accelerate that by just shooting them.
Yeah, and I don't see the line where I'm shooting, but I see the sparkles from when my shot hits the wall.
Yeah, exactly. The line was a bit expensive when I was programming it, so I took that out and just put some sparkles there.
Okay, so at least I understand what the hell I'm doing now. Yep, I got one left. One of these doohickeys left. Come here. He's a little spinning son of a bitch, ain't he? Okay, we got him.
There we go. Got him.
All right.
Okay, now we're back to the shield mode again. So once again, this is the defensive screen, but this time instead of 4, you've got 7 blades chasing you.
Ah, and so then just kind of rinse, lather, and repeat, huh?
Exactly, and then after that, we've got 10 blades chasing you.
Oh, wow. All right, cool.
It's pretty crazy after that, but look, it's a good joystick workout, and
yeah, absolutely.
It's all based on physics, so they all chase you according to some sort of gravity sort equation.
Yeah, you know what I want to show off here? We were looking at some of your stuff in BASIC, and some of them were in BASIC, and some of them were in machine language. But yeah, so this one here called Tank 2, I really like this one because this one reminded me of the old Combat on Atari.
Yeah, that's what I was inspired by.
Yeah. And we were looking at some of these. I don't know where Curtis got them from. He definitely unearthed some gems, right? But
Ryza, actually.
Yeah. So so
Tank 2 is actually machine language, but I've got a basic loader that loads it into machine language and then runs the machine.
Yeah, some of the other games we got on your CoCo 1 and 2 stuff, though, I think were hybrids where you could maybe it's using that BASM that you were talking about, where it was.
Yeah, but even those, eventually I've got to put them back into normal machine code so normal people without the BAS assembler can run them. But yeah, you'll find there's one there called Obstacle. There's another called Tank 2, obviously. Actually, I've got a whole bunch of them here.
Yeah, I don't think I have a complete set. So
there's one called Gunfight. That's where you face off against a gunfighter who draws his gun, and then you got to shoot him. There's one called Shootout as well. Now, look, I can flick all of these over to public domain somewhere, and people can play them.
Yeah. I was really impressed with some of the ones that were like basic files, and once they loaded up, they were pretty cool. Now this one I think is still loading something in the background right now. It's still building some of the machine code or something.
Yeah, it takes a while to load the data. You can actually save it as a machine language file after it puts it into memory, which saves a bit of time next time. I'm actually surprised you got that running because it needs a fair bit of memory to compile in memory. So you must have cleared some memory out or something.
Well, I got a CoCo 3 here, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh, the screen's gone black, is it? Okay, press number 1 on the screen. Just press number 1 on the keyboard.
Ah, there we go.
There we go.
Okay, so is he a computer-controlled opponent?
Yep. No, it's actually 2 players. So you need two joysticks or.
Okay, well then this will make it easy for me. Right. So, oh, you have a limited range on your shots, huh?
So you got to get nice and close. Now you can also shoot through the obstacles as well. So if you move towards one of those white squares and shoot, you'll find that you can blow holes in it.
Yeah, I was really impressed with this because it really reminded me a lot of Combat on the 2600. You know?
Is this tank or tank 2? Because there is a
tank 2.
Okay, it's tank 2. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And so we were kind of just perusing through some of your titles. And that one I really liked. What else was on here?
And Craig, was that in BASIC or was that machine language?
Look, I think it was machine language. So while it's a basic file, it's just a whole bunch of data, hexadecimal data, and it just loads that into memory and then executes it.
I see.
It's an absolute nightmare to type those things in. I realise that now, but back in the day, I thought it was pretty good. It also teaches people nothing about how the program works. But anyway.
That one loaded fast. Shootout. This one is this was a 2-player game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once again, 2-player game. You fire your shot, and depending on the color brick you hit,
it bounces back.
Well, the blue bounces back. The green, I think, kills you, and then the red, I don't know what the red does. It does something else.
Yeah.
When you got 2 players going nuts with each other, it's a pretty chaotic game. And this was one of a few text games I wrote, and the reason the text games were something I liked is that you could scan the whole screen with machine code and do all sorts of crazy fast stuff without taxing the CoCo too much.
Yeah. So, and this is probably my personal favorite here, Space Marauder. Marauder. That's a very difficult word for me to pronounce. Marauder. Yes. And so we actually read the instructions, and it says if you press spacebar, that's how you open up your wing shots. But we tried it last night, and I couldn't get the wing shots to open up with the spacebar. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. Okay. I did notice that it would happen randomly on its own. If I press nothing, it would just switch to the wing shots every now and then. So
I wonder if it's a keyboard mapping issue. I tried it myself; it seemed to work okay, but.
Okay, so now I wonder.
I know there was multiple versions that we found. We found a 1.0, 1.1, and 2.0. What was the last one released? We maybe don't have the most recent one.
No, 2.0 was the last one, so that should be the one to use.
Okay.
Maybe that's one with the bug in it.
And this one, I have to switch the joystick over to the other port from Pursuit. And so one of the things I didn't realize after reading the manual is you can shoot any asteroid if you shoot them in the middle.
Exactly.
I remember the first time I played this, I was like, oh man, some of these things you can't kill.
That's all you got to do. Shoot them dead center, and you'll get them every time. But it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
They bounce off if you don't.
But I love the particle effects here. You know, you got decent explosions. I'm going to turn the sound up a little bit on this one just because it's not as loud as the other ones. So let me find that one. So people can. So this has got good sound effects and good particle effects. You know.
I wanted to put as much on the screen as I could, as many particles and as much moving on the screen at the same time as possible. So. See,
I just upgraded to 3 shots and I didn't press anything.
Okay.
So it just happened when it wanted to happen. I wonder if it happens when you max out your power grid. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a vague memory. There you go. You lost it again.
Yeah, so like you hear that little beeping sound and it goes away. So now I just, if I press spacebar, it's not doing anything. That's all right. We get the idea here. So you have to survive asteroids for a period of time. A little thing comes down on the screen. You have to shoot that, and then that brings out the Marauder itself, and that's like the boss, right?
Pretty well, that's about it. Look, there's not a lot of strategy to this game. Throw as much on the screen as you can and enjoy the fireworks.
Yeah.
And I was never too good at putting stories together behind games either. So you see some really good.
I'll pull.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll pull up the instruction, the 1-page instruction on this in a minute too. It's pretty good. Okay, so these guys, you have to hit him dead center, right in the nose, right?
That's it. Yep.
And so when you hit him, you see the sparks. That's how you know you hit him.
That's how you know you got him. Yeah.
I love the sparks too, man. There's lots on the screen.
Just keep doing it.
Get some more shot energy.
Yeah, to get as much moving as possible, I use as simple an animation as possible. There's no masking effects; it just gets thrown on the screen.
Yeah.
Wax around things. That's okay, as long as it goes fast.
It's working.
You're doing pretty good.
I'm out of bullets.
Out. Hit the blue thing, quick.
I'm trying. I'm gonna get marauded.
You like the old space marauder effect.
Just kill me. Kill me. All right. Take this, Marauder.
Oh my God, you got it.
That was almost like that. We both died at the exact same time.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen that happen before.
Look at this. It's
hey,
it was a delayed death. Okay. Cool. Very, very cool. So
so that was pretty well. That was pretty well the end of my CoCo gaming career. I was going to do another shoot 'em up one, a bit like just like a vertical scroller, but I never got around to it. I saw Nick did that instead, though, so that's good.
Nick's done a few.
He'll get it right one day.
Cool stuff. So these were for sale in Australia at Radio Shack. People could buy them at a Tandy store.
Exactly. You walk in the shop, and hopefully you'd see one there on the wall that was packed in a bit of plastic and a bit of photocopy coloured paper, and that was about it. That's That was Tandy's effort.
Here's
and that was part of the Christmas pack as well. I remember.
It was too, Nick. That's right. Yeah.
We found the one sheet on this. So it says use left joystick and fire button. Spacebar toggles wings lasers. Beware, wing lasers use more power. Destroy asteroids and the Marauder swoopers for extra points. If power permits, else dodge them. Run headfirst into comets for extra power. Run headfirst into warpers, hyperspace to next screen. Ship will self-destruct if you miss. Yeah, I found that one out too. Your shields are non-renewable. The asteroids and Marauder require dead center hits to have any effect. A Marauder will take 20 direct hits before being destroyed. And then you get down here to the bottom, nice little graphic there, Space Marauder, winner of the Tandy Bicentennial Programming Contest. Instructions. Now here's your story. You said you're not big on story, but here's your story right here. Waves of marauding spaceships have been terrorizing the galaxy. Your mission is to hyperspace to the asteroid belt, pick up the warp device and hyperspace it to the marauding spaceship and destroy it. The asteroid belt gets more dangerous and the Marauders get more vicious as the game progresses. So
I remember nothing of that. I've got a funny feeling Tandy probably rolled their eyes and wrote their own story, I think.
Okay, that could be. We've heard that. We've heard that a lot. Where
that happened to Rick on which game of his was that?
Temple of Rom. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The instructions they eventually brought out and Rick actually saw in the store bore no resemblance whatsoever to what he'd sent Tandy.
Right, yeah, because it ends up being taking place on a space planet. So somehow Temple of Rom was an outer space adventure that nobody knew, including the author. Right. So very cool stuff. So I'm glad I found that game, and we're delighted to have you on here. What were some of did you ever come to the United States and do anything like a Rainbow Fest or a Pen Fest or anything like that?
Look, I've never been to any fest at all. So even in Australia, I never went to a fest at all. So it's something I obviously as a teenager I really couldn't afford, and in later years I would have loved to have gone, but I've never had the chance. But this year it is. This year I'm going to go. So I'll be in the Chicago one in April. Is it April? Yeah, and no, May. Sorry.
It's May. This year. Yeah, May 4th and 5th. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. So I'll hopefully be there with bells on.
Excellent. Yeah, and we got a note from Bryza saying that this was $19.95 was what this cost from Tandy when we went to buy this. So $20, like you're saying, yeah. So $20, and they threw you a bone for everyone they sold. That's kind of cool, right?
Now, were these sold on disc only, or were they on cassette as well? Did Tandy take both, or?
No, they were both. I think. In fact, they might have only been on cassette.
Cassette, I think they were. Yeah.
That's the same with your games, Nick, too, that were sold?
Yeah, they only bought them on cassette.
Okay.
Until we transferred them over to disc.
Well, yeah.
I got a question. I got a question for Paul as I cue his up. Paul, do you know any tricks on the CoCo SDC and how to map these discs to drive 1 and drive 2? Because I've been doing it from the command prompt. Is there a way?
Yeah, well, if you have the latest version of SDC, you can hit Shift 1, right where you have it right now. And you should say that it mounted it.
Paul just walked me through this because Jacob and I were just firing this up.
Is it Shift 0 for play and Shift 1 for map? Is that what it is?
You don't have to mount disc 0, just disc 1, and then arrow down to DC play. There you go.
Okay.
And then just go over and press enter on run me.
Okay, very cool. So we'll get that queued up. Dungeon Crawl by Paul Shoemaker. So I want to show that off, and I want to show off the packaging too, because for those of you who may or may not have ordered the limited run of the physical media. So what you get in this is Dungeon Crawl. So you got a nice manila envelope. So this is better than just a clear baggie, right? So this is improved packaging over the 80s, right?
It's fancy.
It used to be just a Ziploc bag, right? There is a glossy card that shows off your spell stones. Now, these spell stones, when you acquire these, do you keep these for your forever? These just become powers that are always on you?
No, they're temporary. They expire. You get them for a random amount of moves, basically, turns.
Okay.
And then they expire. But there's several ways to get the spell effects, but they're almost always random. The only one that you can actually have any control over is the giant strength one, which I think is the very first one.
And then very cool, not one, but 2 floppy disks. So one of them is the map disk. Nice label, Color Computer 64K map disk. And then you have this one here, which is play disk. Okay, so you need to have, if you're going to run it off physical floppies, you need to have 2 floppy drives for this to work then, right?
Yeah, you do. And the reason for that is there was just not enough space on one floppy disk to have 10 levels. I could fit 9 levels, but not 10 levels, and then all of the game files.
Does it work as a single disc if you swap discs? Like you load the programs and stuff off the first one and then switch? No?
No. Okay. No, the only thing you could do is copy over the first 9 levels, and then you could play on the 9 levels, but you'd have to be very careful not to accidentally go to the 10th level.
Okay. Now, it should run fine off a RAM disk, so if you have a 512K CoCo 3 initialized, a couple of RAM disks, you should be able to use those as a drive 1 if you only have one physical drive, I presume?
Yeah, I think that would work great.
But is the game kind of hard-coded to load certain levels from drive 0 versus drive 1?
It's hard-coded to load all the levels from drive 1.
So you'd have to make drive 1 a RAM disk then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Distos 512K had a program that lets you do up to 2 RAM disks, so that
would
work. What are your plans after this one?
Well, so I got to do 2 more things for this one. So you don't get a physical disc 3, you do get a digital disc 3, and on the digital disc 3 is the actual level editor. It's what I used to make the maps.
Okay.
And so what I didn't provide anybody are the instructions for how to use the map editor. Now it's hopefully fairly intuitive, but you do have to know how the map works in order to be able to create the 50 room level. And you have to know what the naming convention of the level files should be. And there's a couple of other little tricks. So it's not terribly complicated, but I haven't written that manual yet, or that documentation for the level editor, even though everybody who bought a copy has the level editor with them. And then the other thing that I'm going to do, Ron, is I'm going to release 10 more levels so that people can get to go down to level 20 on the map instead of just level 10.
You know what that is, dude?
What's that?
That's DLC for the CoCo, man.
That's right. That's right. I don't think I'm going to charge for any of that extra stuff, though. So I don't know if it's DLC or not, but I'll release all of that stuff in the next, I don't know, month
That's
or so.
TLC if you're not charging.
There's Jacob. Hey, Jacob and Bruce.
We're really anxious to see this because we were just firing this up, and just in the chat here got Paul to walk us through how to mount Drive 1 so we could play the game.
Excellent.
Yeah,
We're excited.
I was doing it manually last night, so I broke out to the basic prompt and I typed in drive 0, whatever
that works
DSK
too.
and drive 1. So I didn't realize there was an easier way to do it in the GUI. So yeah, I learned a new trick too. So and it actually reminded me of Forest of Doom a little bit too, because you go back to the inn, to upgrade your levels and stuff. Yeah. So before we move on to the next one, I do want to say thank you to Craig Stewart for being here and letting us kind of look at some of his software and hearing some of the stories behind that. So
I got one quick question for Craig too before we let him go here. Mm-hmm. Have you got any thought about getting back into making a new CoCo game?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. I've been watching some of the efforts of Paul and Nick, and I get inspired. So look, I'll never say never, and it'd be great to get stuck back into it. But I just remembered how many late nights I used to do with those other ones. So finding time these days is hard.
Yeah.
But, look, I mean, there's a certain purity to doing those old 8-bit games, and the amount of optimization and coding you've got to sort of try to fit into a very small amount of memory. It's something I enjoy doing. So yeah, I think I will.
Are you going to get the hardware too?
Yeah, look, the hardware's not something I've ever got into. So look, I've been watching you guys play with all sorts of fantastic little hardware devices, and look, I barely got past using a cassette recorder back in my day. So it's I've got to catch up to see what you guys are up to make sure it's something I can get my head around. But look, at least it'll be CoCo Disk at least, and it'll use lots of special effects. But beyond using any other hardware, I can't say.
Have you got a CoCo at the moment?
Yeah, I've got a CoCo. I've got an American CoCo. I've got an Australian CoCo 1, and I've got a CoCo 3. So it's funny. I was actually always very jealous about the American CoCos because of the way you guys could display color in P Mode 4. And looking back at those old games in the Tandy catalogs and the Rainbow magazines and watching those beautiful blues and oranges, I thought, in Australia, all we got was these funny grays and purples.
Yeah, well, we experienced a lot of that going through the AGD stuff last night, the black and whites. Like, oh my God, my eyes are still hurting from it all. So
it's painful. But I mean, we used to play them anyway. But I must admit, though, it was a bit of a revelation when I got an American CoCo in Australia. Put a 120 volt inverter on it and watched how some of the games should have looked like. So it was it was very interesting to see that.
What's Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask, what's a CoCo? What's a CoCo?
CoCo.
I wouldn't quite.
Oh, did I say that? Did I?
CoCo?
A CoCo.
I see.
You have to forgive him. He's Canadian, so. Hey, I think we've balanced out our international things now. We got 3 Canadians and 3 Australians here now, so there is balance.
Yeah,
there's balance in the force.
British Columbians.
Yes.
Well, it's better than Americans.
Yeah.
Part of the Commonwealth.
And speaking of game developers, John Strong has joined us. John Strong has developed a game or two in his day. I think he continues to develop things as we speak. And Bruce Moore has developed a game or two and is also working on projects, right? So you have Forest of Doom. Yeah, so welcome, guys, for being here. Real quick, too, before we show off the game, I just want to show you one more thing. Another nice thing, which also reminded me of Forest of Doom a little bit, but, having a manual. So, right, so this is a nice player's guide that came with Dungeon Crawl. Did you get a physical copy, Bruce and Jacob?
No, we're download only at this point.
Okay. So, nice, stapled manual. Can you become a legend? Your objective. And when you get into, I'll show you the PDF version too, but this is nice. So here's your little picture of what the screen looks like, this showing you what your keys are, what keys you can press. You have 2 different modes. What's that?
All this for how much?
$15.
But wait,
$15 plus, but wait, there's more. Right. So it took me a while to figure out that while I was in combat, I couldn't press U to heal myself in combat. I'm like, dude, it says press U, but I couldn't press U in combat. So different keys work at different times.
That's right.
So we got that going on. Leveling, like what level spell you can use. You have to be a certain level to cast certain level spells. Then we get into the spell stones. There's different soul stones, spell stone descriptions, items and treasure, so you can get swords and armors and shields and elven cloaks and elven boots and a ring of regeneration. Showing you what some of the features of, and by the way, when we look at these graphics, they look really good. How you level up with experience, how many XP you need to get to go to your next level, what the Avalon Hill Inn looks like. And then this was really cool here, but looking at the pictures of all the monsters in here, right?
Now, Paul, did you draw all those yourself, or did you get them from somewhere? Or
I did not. So I am not a creative guy at all. So I shamelessly stole a bunch of stuff that I found. So those monsters are actually the monster graphics from the IBM version of Wizardry 1. Because I actually began I created those because it's my intention still to go back and create a clone of Wizardry for the color computer.
Do you have the siren sound?
And
yeah, hold on a second, because you stole this from the IBM.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
Yeah. Against the wall, hands on the wall.
Yeah. So if for those of you who have played Wizardry, I'm both like the Apple and then the call it the Tandy 1000 version of Wizardry. The Tandy 1000 version of Wizardry is so much nicer looking than the Apple version was, and so the monster files, they're like night and day. The monsters on the Apple version are horrible, and the monsters on the Tandy 1000 version are much better. So I basically found those. The way that I created them, the monsters, was I went to what is it? archive.com or whatever it is, archive.org, where you can actually go in and play a bunch of old games, and they play them right in the window on your browser.
Okay, yeah, like a bunch of DOSBox type stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just started copying I'd wait for it to show up on the screen and then screenshot it, and then I literally remapped it pixel by pixel into a file for the CoCo. And so
heck, doing all that takes talent. Come on.
Old school thievery. Nice.
Yes, old school thievery. So
yeah.
I'm not creative enough to create anything on my own, but I can flat steal everybody else without any
It looks fabulous. It looks fabulous. So yeah, I'm very excited to play it. If this had come out in the 80s, I could imagine of dropping, $30-$35 on it and just being thrilled to pieces over it. It looks fabulous, yeah.
And $35 went a lot further back in the 80s than it does now. That's like lunch for two now. So
yeah. So the only monster I actually drew was the troll from the lost troll from Dungeons of Dagger.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the PDF of the manual so people can see it a little bit better, right? So now, what about the graphic with the dude holding the sword and all that kind of stuff?
So that was fairly challenging to do. So that one I just started searching through old again on the internet. That's actually a part of a illustration that I think is in the Dungeons and Dragons expert level.
Oh yeah.
I think it is, and and all I did was I took the part of the guy's hand and the sword, and I basically did the same thing, which is I basically mapped it onto an Excel spreadsheet where I could see where all of the pixels were supposed to be black and white. Wow. And then I used the Excel spreadsheet to calculate what the byte value of each 8 pixels would be. And then I kind of did what Craig was talking about. I wrote a basic program with all of these data statements that basically drew it onto the CoCo and then saved the screen.
Okay.
And so that
as a bin file.
Yeah. But it was the coolest photo I could find. And and what I found was in working with the resolution that the color computer has, it's surprising if you kind of zoom in on something, and as opposed to if I had tried to draw just a dude with his sword, it wouldn't have looked very good. But when you zoom way in on just the hand and the sword, it really I don't know, it hides the limitation of the resolution a little bit, and I thought it turned out pretty well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I want to. So here we can see some of the artwork: the pits, the altars, the thrones, the pools, the staircase. Yeah, I think they do zoom in well. I wanted to get to the pages where we could see the bad guys in here. So here's the inn. Here's the creatures, and they look really good. So we have a gnoll, a kobold, a skeleton, a prowler, a zombie, an orc, a bruiser, a ghost, a templar.
I changed him. There's several Easter eggs. There's not just the ones that you noticed. If you look at his shield, it's got
it's got the CoCo 3 on it.
Yeah.
Okay. The bruiser's got CoCo 3. We got our templar. We got our ghoul, our dwarf. Here's the guy from Daggerath here, the troll. What the? Is this guy lost? Am I lost? Are we in Daggerath? My heart is suddenly beating like a jackhammer. That was cool when we saw that one last night. So. Because I didn't have the book last night when we were looking at this. So we're looking at the PDF. Cave bear, griffin, giant, specter, wizard, demon, dragon. Yes, I mean, the artwork is really good on here.
Yeah, the demon is not from Wizardry either. The demon I found someplace else. Because the game, Telengard, the two most difficult monsters are the demon and the dragon. And I had a dragon graphic, but I didn't have a demon graphic because there's not a demon in Wizardry. So that's another one where I just was poking around the internet one night until I found an image of a demon that I thought was something would translate well onto the CoCo screen and use that.
Very cool, very cool. So let's fire in and look at this for a little bit. I was playing this last night for a bit. And I was able to get a little bit of XP, a little bit of gold. So we're going to hit C to continue. C to continue. What is it? Continue.
Your keyboard must not be mapped. Because what that's telling you is you're hitting something other than C or S.
Why would my keyboard not be mapped?
I don't know.
Is it in lowercase?
That could be it. That could be it.
Oh, did I hit Shift 0? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay, you descend into the depths of the deep, dark dungeon. All right, so here we see the screen, and here we are. Now, here's something that I think I noticed. Like right now, I'm not doing anything, right? I'm in the screen. All right. Now, if you don't move, monsters will come at you automatically, right?
Yes. If you let the time bar go all the way down, it automatically goes to the next turn, and the next turn could be anything. It could be a monster encounter. It could be you could find treasure, or nothing could happen.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I noticed. If I just sit here in a room, treasure would literally just show up in the room, and I'm like, wait a second.
Yes,
is this a bug?
That's a much less fun way to play, but yes, you can literally stand in one room and just wait for stuff to come to you.
Yeah. Okay, which is what I was doing.
Okay.
Which without realizing it, because I'm like, well, I don't want to, it does 9 points of damage. So, okay, let's do this. Let's hit C to cast. You do 8 points. See, I'm down to 6. Yeah, I'm dead. See, this is looking at my hit points. But I love how the things scroll up in the middle here. Is there any sound in this game at all?
None. There's no sound, and literally I was about 90% through with the game in terms of coding most of the features that I wanted into the game, and I ran out of memory. And so I literally had to export all of the code over to Notepad++, and I had to search for and kind of comb through the code to find things that I could optimize, to find things where I was going to, like, one thing I did was there were 2 subroutines on the game that I would almost always do go sub this number followed directly by a go sub to that number. And what I actually did was I made a third subroutine that if you go sub to that third number, it would go sub to those other 2 by itself. And in collapsing all of those 2 go sub statements into one go sub statement, I freed up a bunch of memory. Well, enough memory to add a couple more features into the game. So I didn't add any sound because it was the least important aspect of the game for me at that point. And I might be able to fit a sound, like one sound 200,1 command in there someplace, but literally I ran out of memory.
Well, you can play your own music in your headset.
Exactly.
That's
what I recommend.
So because I was almost dead, I just returned to the inn. Now, this was where you cash in your gold, and this will also hopefully you put 419 in the safe. You spend the night. So my hit points were down to 2.
Yep. So it'll
feel better.
It'll replenish your hit points. It'll replenish your spell units. And then, did you? Wasn't watching. Did you walk into the inn, or
no? I had R. I had R to return.
Okay. Yeah, and then it'll teleport you back to wherever you were before when you.
Okay, so right now, if I stay here in the inn, I can't get hurt.
Yeah, you're safe.
Right. All right. So let me soak in what's on the screen right now. I'm level 2. That's what my XP has gotten me to. What is DL?
It stands for dungeon level. I added that as the very last thing that I added to it because I figured people would want to know where they were in the dungeon. Yeah. And I can't, it's very small for me. I can't read it, but I think it probably says DL 0.
Yeah, because I'm in the inn.
Because you're in the inn. Yeah. But it will tell you what level of the dungeon that you're in. But I don't actually think that's in the instruction manual.
Okay, that's fine. So we have your stats, your strength, your constitution, intelligence, dexterity, wisdom, charisma. Your hit points, your SU is what?
Spell units.
Spell units. I have 3 spell units, meaning I can cast 3 spells.
3 first level spells, or 1 third level spell whenever you get to third level.
Okay, my experience points.
Third level spells.
Okay, now the sword means that I'm going to do +2 on my attack damage.
That's right.
Armor is +2 on my defense. Shield is another +2 on my defense. Elven cloak means I'm going to be harder to see.
Mm-hmm.
And elven boots means I'm a little bit quieter.
Yes.
For sneaking in, and the ring of protection means that I can have a little bit of resistance, right?
That's right. That's right. And so you're missing the ring of regeneration, which does just what it sounds like it does. At every turn, it adds those amount of hit points back to wherever you're lost. Once you get a ring of regeneration, it's much you can explore a little bit more freely because your hit points will just regenerate themselves over time. And then everything below the ring of regeneration are actual individual items like a potion of healing, like a scroll of return, like whatever the third thing is that I can't remember right now. But those, the plus next to those is actually an indicator of the number of those items that you have.
Ah, I see. All right, so let's go back into the dungeon. All right. See, I just picked up some refuse.
Mm-hmm.
I snagged it, and you suffer 4 points of damage. Oh, trapped trash. All right. Now, you can... Okay, so I'm going to try to drink some water and see if that helps me. I noticed random thing. You heal 4 hit points. Okay, so the damage I just took, I got healed.
That's right.
By drinking from the water pool. I have noticed that sometimes I've gotten magical powers by drinking this stuff. I've gotten some strength.
You can get drunk occasionally.
Yeah. Oh, a Spectre. Ooh, level 4 Spectre.
Run.
I like it. It's easy to fight. You just hit enter.
Yes, it is, but it does. You're probably going to regret this.
All right, let's hit cast. C to cast. We'll do level 1 spell. And we're going to do freeze it.
That won't work.
Fire?
Turn or fire?
Let's try firebolt.
When do you push reset?
A bolt erupts from your hand. It suffers 12 hit points. Okay.
This is a level 4 Spectre?
It does 6 points of damage, yeah.
Yeah. See, you got to watch out for the Spectres because they'll drain a level.
Is it Spectre or Spectre?
Spectre, I think.
All right, so we're going to hit... You do 13 points of damage. It missed.
Spectre.
Okay, I'm going to hit C to cast. I get a little confused with the interface here because I hit C and it didn't work. Okay, C to cast. I'm hitting C to cast. I'm hitting C. You do 13 points of damage. It's not letting me. It's not giving me my cast menu right now.
It has a tendency to kind of cache your keystrokes. So don't pound the keyboard.
Okay. Well, somehow I survived.
Hey,
so
good luck with that.
All right. I just hit clear to save. All right. You encounter a cave bear. He's level 3. Okay, so he just came out of nowhere. We're gonna fight him.
That's a big teddy bear.
Yeah.
You do 10 points of damage. It missed. I hit fight again. You do 11 points of damage. God bless you in the background there. It missed. We're going to fight. You do 4 points of damage. My health is still pretty good. It missed. Good. He's sucking at hitting me right now. We're going to hit enter. You do 8 points of damage. When does it die? It died. Thank you. You gain 420 experience points. You went up a level.
Nice.
You gain. Now, does that mean I have to go to? Do I have to go to the inn to cash in, or you just automatically level up?
Nope, it'll automatically level up. It doesn't replenish all of your hit points. So any lost hit points are still lost, but you gain whatever new hit points that you get for
Okay. Okay, so now my maximum possible hit points is 37.
Nice.
I
What
went
level
from
are you?
28 to 30. I'm a level 3 now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. We're going to see if we can kill this bloody ghost here.
You ought to be able to.
11 points of damage. It died. You gain 160 experience points. Okay, do I get any treasure from this? See, right now I didn't hit anything that says no. You found a large pool. Let's see if this is going to heal me. You feel better. You just did 2, so now I'm up to 33. All right, let's hit clear to save. Refreshing soul stone. I don't have the ability to go back to the inn.
Are you out of your scroll of returns?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, you just gained 56 experience by drinking the water. That was cool.
That's one of the. You can also lose experience by drinking the water.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I gotta say the level loads pretty quickly. I love the monochrome graphics in this thing. This is a case where black and white serves the game well. Oh, so I've been undetected. I encountered a zombie. He's level 4.
You can take him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what the elven boots do. Is they help you sneak up undetected, so you have that option of fighting or not fighting. And although it's not super obvious with the game, depending on how the stats that you roll, there is some different strategies that you could employ if you had, say, a very high dexterity but a not so great strength. Very high dexterity is going to make it to where you do sneak up on a lot of monsters, so you can just not fight monsters and do what you noted, Steve, is just kind of walk around and wait to find treasure, because for every gold piece that you find, when you get back to the inn, it converts to an experience point. So there's different approaches you can take to level up. You don't have to just fight everything. But
encounter a kobold,
kind of the
level
fun
5 kobold.
Oh yeah, kobolds are easy. What you hope for is you hope to run into a kobold that's like double your level. You kill him pretty easily, and he has a chest. If he has a chest, then the magical items typically end up to be the stronger the monster, the stronger the magical items, or the more powerful magical items you can find. So that's
I think I just screwed the pooch on getting that chest too. Something popped up and I don't know what I hit, but I didn't get the chest.
You missed it.
Yeah, a knoll.
These guys are easy too.
A gnoll. Yeah, this game does remind me a lot of Forest of Doom. 20 experience points. What do we got here? Gems. Press enter to pick up some gems. You snagged it.
Now, you said this game's based on Telengard, right? The original Avalon Hill game?
That's right.
How closely based is it? Like, are the maps even the same and stuff? Or
no. So Telengard and the D&D game that was its predecessor. Well, I'm not sure. I think D&D had an actual mapping, like a map. Telengard used an algorithm to generate that I couldn't figure out, to be honest. I couldn't figure out how it was generating the algorithm. So as opposed to trying to duplicate what Telengard did, where Telengard actually has evidently a massive dungeon, but it doesn't have a map file per se. And so as opposed to doing that, I decided to just not mess around with trying to figure out how that was working, and I created my own map files. So each level has 50 rooms and 50 different places that you can navigate to, and at one screen full of room is one screen full is one room. So there's basically 50 different spots that you can get to on each level, and currently there's 10 levels, so 500 different individual rooms, if you will. Some of the rooms look like hallways, but I'm calling them all rooms.
Sure.
Now the program's written in BASIC, and you've got some assembly language routines in there. What are those routines?
So the assembly language routines that I have are first for the high-res text. So that was actually the first thing that I did was I looked at a bunch of old rainbows to figure out kind of how there was a good 3 or 4 different article series back on, 83, 84 rainbows that explained how to do 51 column text. And although I didn't follow it all very well, I understood just enough of it to figure out how it was doing it. And so that was the first assembly language routine that I wrote, was for the high-res text. And it just passes a string using the VAR PTR command, actually a pointer to a string using the VAR PTR command. And the string itself is just, a string equals. The first two characters are actually the X and Y coordinates of where you want it to be, where you want that line of text to start.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
And then it's the rest of it is just the text itself.
Is the XY coordinate a text location, or is it an actual pixel location so you can offset your text?
It's a text location.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to the pixel ability to do it. And I kind of did it that way on purpose. That way, the formatting of the screen is really easy. Every character is 8 wide by, I think, 8 deep, and so it's just really easy to
faster too, because otherwise you have to bit shift and all kinds of stuff too. So.
Yeah, and I didn't have to mess around with any of that stuff.
And then obviously your little pop-up window and the scrolling.
How much total time do you have in this game?
Making it, you mean?
Yeah.
A
month?
No, probably more like 6 months.
Really?
Of programming off and on. And so, I would go maybe 2 or 3 days, like over the holiday when I had, a week off of work. I spent hours and hours and hours coding on that time. But most of it's just, a few hours on the weekend, an hour here in the evening for probably about 6 months, Ron. Did you,
as you got further and further closer to the end, did things go a little faster because you wanted to finish it?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I've actually, the game had been finished for a while, and I just kept playing it to make sure that it didn't have any bugs. And so it was finally on the last Sunday or whenever I released it, I finally just sort of said, what the hell? I mean, it seems to be working okay for me. I'm not finding any more problems. I'm just going to release it. So, and see if it works out there in the wild. And so far it has, which is, I think, one of the really beautiful things of programming it for the color computer versus, I don't know, like an IBM PC or something like that, where there's so many different hardware configurations that could screw you up if you're writing a game for maybe a more modern PC. But for a color computer, I mean, all things being equal, if it runs flawlessly on your color computer, it's probably going to run flawlessly on everybody else's too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
And how far have you gotten on your wizardry game?
Far enough that it like I can walk through. I've got the full 3D thing done. I know how to do the kind of windowy environment that the Tandy 1000 version of Wizardry does. So I've got that done. The thing that like the source code to Wizardry is out. It's just out there on the internet. So I actually have the Pascal source code for it, which I'm not writing the game in Pascal, but I was using it to kind of figure out how they do things. And I haven't figured out how they've got their mapping work, because I've got a map that works on mine, but it's not the same way that the Wizardry program is doing there. So I would say I'm probably 30% done in terms of I got the basic game mechanics, but the game itself, I'm not anywhere close on it. So you can walk around a maze, and that's about it right now.
I just want to say, if you have questions on programming, reach out.
Yeah, I will. Thank you, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
And how are sales going so far?
What's that, Nick?
Oh, how are the sales going at the moment?
Oh, they exceeded my expectations. I figured I'd sell 6, maybe 10. I think I've sold as of earlier this evening 38 copies.
Wow,
which is not, yeah, that's as I said, exceeded my expectations by a lot. In fact, I don't have any more of the floppy versions left. I used every single floppy that I could get my hands on. Guys, I was really surprised at that. I offered the floppy edition almost as like I don't want to say it was a gimmick, but I really didn't think that there would be that much interest in it. And so I've sold an equal number of floppy editions of the game, like the one that you were showing, Steve, and an equal number of the digital only ones. And so it really surprised me how popular the floppy version turned out to be.
Yeah, I will probably never play the floppies, but I like tangibles. I like collectibles, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted the book, you know.
Yeah. So my first thought was to do it the way that Nick does it, which is well, at least when I bought Popstar Pilot from Nick, was to get just do it on a CD. And so I was going to do the whole CD thing with the CD cover and, you know, have a little insert in it and really kind of do it following Nick's lead on that. But and then I was like, I've got this box of 30 diskettes. Maybe I should just offer it on diskette and see if anybody's interested in that. And
that's neat.
It turned out to be pretty.
0 diskettes.
And now I have 0 diskettes. Yes, that's okay. They were just sitting there. I wasn't using them for anything.
Yeah. Terry Steeg says it's nice to have a physical version. Absolutely. Yeah, it's something cool about that. The collectability of it. Listen, it's nice that if it's digital, you know, because listen, I'm playing it on an SD card. I'm never going to use the floppies, but I like anything I can get my hands on to collect and have. What's the name of your
software company?
The name of my software company? Yeah. Paul Shoemaker Software.
Oh, okay. I just wondered what the sign would look like on the building later on.
I have to figure out my logo and my branding and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was going to just mention something here because I was digging through my old rainbows here while we were going through the game, and you'd mentioned like we never really had a wizardry for the CoCo, and I think there was 2. One was pre-announced, never came out, and there was another one I can't remember who was by. It was called the Warrior and the Wizard or something, and I don't know if that got released. It had a full page ad at one point in the rainbow, but the first one, this is the January 1983 rainbow, which was one of their adventure issues, but Prickly Pear Software had a little blurb. You can see that in the upper corner there.
Yeah.
But they'd kind of pre-announced this wizardry clone that never came out. Due this month.
Maybe it's deceptively difficult. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
It's supposed to be called Gateway to Glory and required a disk drive, and never came out. Vaporware.
Well, 30 years later, we might have it.
That's right.
We just might. Oh, Terry says he got the very first autographed copy of this game.
He did.
He was your first order, huh?
He was my very first order. I mean, minutes after I posted out on Facebook, Terry sent me an email, and so Terry got the first one, and I put Terry's also got the only copy that has a first edition, sticker denotation on it as well. So his is a little bit different from anybody else's.
Excellent. Very, very cool. How about we take we are now an hour and 12 minutes into the show, and this has been good stuff. How about we take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back. We're going to cover some news, and we'll get into some other things. Let's see. We have lots of commercials. We had somebody mention CoCo earlier. So how about we run a CoCo commercial, and we'll be back in just a minute. And thank you, Paul Shoemaker, for sharing that with us, and thank you, Craig Stewart, for sharing some of your stuff with us. And we'll be back after this commercial featuring the CoCo.
Hi there, this is Mark Overholzer, and you're watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly talk show where you can join in. Hey, come watch us and see what's happening in the world of CoCo.
CoCoTALK is brought to you in part by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex, we think it works, so will you.
What's going on, everybody? Stevie Stroh, and I want to say thank you for continuing to watch and listen to CoCoTALK. We love doing this show. We think we put together a pretty good show for you, but this show could be better with your help. So if you would like to send a feedback, a comment, a suggestion, a show topic, or maybe even your own little segment or bumper, then send it to us via email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live. This show would be nothing without you. Love to hear from you.
CoCo c'est le coq champignon, des micros et dans le pion. Pour le jeu, il est pas battant, les études, c'est pas disant. L'expansion, il en passe, les commandes, tu vas voir ça. Notre CoCo est programmable, pour tes cours, c'est bien serviable. CoCo de radio chaton, la terre est dans le sac.
Un ordinateur couleur qui a de la personnalité. Le CoCo 2 de Radio Shack. On solde pour Noël à partir de 149,95.
CoCo 2 de Radio Shack, ton affaire est dans le sac, c'est toi et CoCo 2.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
There you go. Little CoCo do for you there. So we got some other things to show off too, but I thought we would maybe do a little bit of news because we've been light on the news for a couple of weeks now, just because of the kind of spontaneous nature of the show and the direction it can sometimes go in. So we're gonna do some news. I do want to show off some of the games from the AGD, some of the stuff that Pear has been posting. So we've been posting the news articles. Hey, a new disc has been posted from the AGD ports. These are a bunch of games that come from the ZX Spectrum. So we started testing some of these last night. We found some that we could actually play and show you. And so we'll show you a couple of these AGD games. We're going to cover some news. And then I thought maybe a brief host discussion about just to kind of the direction and the content of the show, because there's been a couple of comments about some of the language and has this show become After Dark? And no, officially it has not become After Dark. It just happens to be happening at nighttime. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit too. So why don't we go ahead, since we haven't done this in a while, we're going to go ahead and do some news, and we'll get the news out of the way sooner rather than later, because by the time we leave it for the end, I'm just too tired to do news. So we're going to do that. I'm going to start off with, I got to find my little infographic here first. Where are we? Here's our thing. And of course now, it's not showing me the thing that I want it to show, but that's okay. We'll fix that right now. It's live. What do you want from me? Where the hell is it? And it's so let's fix this real quick.
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
You should have put a link up while he was talking about his game on where you could order it.
Paul, you want to tell where we can get your game from? How people can get that from you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thank you for that.
Sure.
So you can just send me an email, or if you are on Facebook, there's a couple of posts that actually have an ad that I created that has my email address in it. But basically, the way that you do it is send me an email address, and let me know that you want the digital version, because that's all that I have now.
Yeah.
And it costs $10 US dollars, and you can pay me via PayPal, and my email address is. It's in the ad on Facebook, and if anybody needs it, I'll pop it into the chat window over here on the right side.
It's in the CoCo group?
It's in the CoCo group, yeah, okay. That's right. And then I'll email you the files. It's just one zipped file with 3 disk, the disk images, as well as the documentation in Adobe Acrobat.
Well, go ahead and give it to me, and I'll put it in the live chat for everybody to see too. So what's your email address?
It's Paul Fee. Are you being serious?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the live chat so people can get it.
Sure, why not? It's Paul Fee3, so it's PAUL, F is Frank, E is in Edward, the number 3, at swbell.net.
Southwest Bell, huh?
Yeah, I've had this email address forever and ever.
I'm going to put that in the live chat on both YouTube and in Facebook. So if anybody's watching it there, you can just grab it, and maybe it will automatically hyperlink over for you. Maybe it won't. But there it is.
And Paul, are you going to be at the fest this year?
I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it's in the cards this time. I went to the very first Tandy assembly. I didn't make it. I think there's been the second one already, and I didn't make it to that one. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to the fest. I'd love to. If things change, I'll try to get there.
Where do you live, Paul?
I'm in Houston.
Oh.
And so everything is kind of far away.
Richard Lubieski to pick you up, and he'll take you up.
That's right. Yeah, bummer ride with Rich.
Yeah. All right, well, let's cue some music here for news. All right, well, we gave Jim Brain some crap last week because his new and improved CoCo STC extender did not include a real-time clock. And, how could it not? Shame on you, Jim, for not doing that. So what the internet complained, and Jim responded. And so now we have a picture of a real-time clock counting down the seconds on the screen here. We've got Paul T. Barton level wire engineering going on here. So we got different color wires going on here.
See, now the tape's not over that section of the board.
Yeah, so that was covered before. That was conspicuously covered before. We could not see that. And now we can even see, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. What is this?
That's the logic analyzer of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it looks like a bunch of digital square waves going up and down. So Jim Brain has, according to him, the feature was already in the works, but it was going to be a secret. But since so many people complained about it, he went ahead and made a little bit more progress on that. So
is this the $70 chip or the dollar one?
Oh.
That we do not know, Ron.
So now we have a request in the live chat from Ken saying, "Hey, can I get one without the clock?" So he just wants to be difficult.
Yeah, all of a sudden it got expensive. Huh?
Yeah, now it got expensive.
All those extra wires, just the clock and no sound. That's one.
Yeah.
It's an SPI based chip, so it's a lower cost one.
Okay. All right. So good for you, Jim Brain. Now, something else. Okay, so we got a couple of chiptunes postings here. So Kevin Becker posted this one. This is Ed Snyder's CoCo chiptune player playing directly off of the Mega Mini MPI. So let's take a little look and a little listen on this in here. So I don't know where he's getting his music from, but we got all kinds of directories here. If I'm not mistaken, I think this one was like the Duke Nukem theme. Oh, my YouTube seems to be buffering here. What's going on?
Are you playing this yourself, or is this a video?
I'm playing this off of YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And it's buffering.
Try jumping the marker on the bottom there.
Yeah. Oh, is this Doom? Oh, Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
When I heard this, it reminded me of like Duke Nukem or Doom songs or something like that, you know?
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a Duke Nukem song.
Yeah. Master of Puppets is pulling my strings. Yeah, so. Yes. Dig it, yep. All right, so Master of Puppets, Metallica. Yeah, it doesn't sound like Duke Nukem or Doom or something like that. I feel like I'm going through Doom right now.
And we're only using a fraction of the processor, huh?
Yes, but 100% of my mind is blown right now. So, yeah, the drum beat, the downbeat on that drum sounds pretty good. Yeah, I mean, to me, this is getting more into 90s PC sounding music, you know? It just sounds like this sound is a higher level sound than the CoCo, you know? Not that it's a bad thing to have good sound on there. But yeah, when I first heard this, I thought I was listening to Doom or something like that, you know? So, very cool stuff. Master of Puppets, he's pulling my strings.
No, you can get Nick to just update Gatecrasher and put it in the Doom soundtrack. And
yeah, right. And so then Ed Snyder posted one too. So Ed Snyder will make the chiptunes player available. So since the Mega MPI is out there and enough people have ordered them, and we're also looking at the thing that Jim Brain's doing, because I thought I had it in here. I thought I had the video from Jim Brain. Here we go. This is Retro Innovation. So here's Jim showing off some chiptunes on his work in progress extender.
Ed Snyder's chiptune player, version 0.3, on
a Commodore 64.
512K equipped
there you go.
CoCo 3 with the prototype of the CoCo SDC extender.
Oh, look, and there's the freaking clock chip on there too. You see that? The clock chip was right there. Or is that the sound chip? Get out your glow sticks, people.
We used to have big lighters.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a good sounding chip. It sounds too good for the CoCo, in my opinion.
I don't agree with that at all. I think it sounds.
You don't agree with that? Yeah, okay. It sounds like it should be on a PC. Like we're back in the days of MS-DOS now, you know? It's actually better than PC sound here.
So that card was blue, but when you turn it on, it turns red?
Yeah, it's color changing. New color changing technology.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
I think the really cool thing here is that he had to do very little modifications to Ed's program, and now this player is now compatible with a couple of the sound solutions.
Yeah. That's cool stuff.
The future is here.
Absolutely. The future is now.
Yes.
And so very cool. So,
nice.
So yeah, there's been talks about sound chips, and and one of the things that people have been mentioning is that the sound market is already becoming fragmented, and so what it looks like we're getting closer to now is maybe a one sound chip to rule them all. So the Mega MPI is an option for those who need or want to pay for an MPI. It has a built-in sound chip. For those who want a sound chip who don't need or don't want an MPI, it's looking like Jim Brain will be making that available to us in the near future. But wait, there's more. It also includes a real-time clock because the world needed a real-time clock, and Jim Brain is delivering that too.
Darn
so,
straight.
Yeah. So
will there be a Game Master extender?
A Game Master? Well, there could be. There should be, and I think that has been. I don't know if argument is the best word, but I think that's been some of the concerns that some of our other current game developers like Nick Marentes were saying is like, listen, I don't want to support a sound chip that requires a cartridge because the cartridge adds expense to the price of the program, and I don't want to pass that expense on to the consumer. And that's nice of Nick to feel that way, and maybe we don't all agree with Nick. I think some people would buy it on a cartridge anyways, but he says if I'm going to support a sound chip, I want it to be an economical sound chip, right? So if it's a one and done and you buy it and you've got it and it's part of your CoCo, that makes a lot of sense, right? So the MPI helps with that, or this extender, which is basically in line between your CoCo and your CoCo SDC, adds that sound chip. And there's a chiptune player, and so yeah, it's looking like with some of these advancements, we may have in the hands of mere mortals high quality CoCo sound in the near future. And as Rob Inman just pointed out, it says the CoCo extender plus SDC plugs into the Mega MPI. What if you want an MPI and a real-time clock? So it's just like, oh my God, come on.
Well, didn't Ed make reference to the fact that the next generation might have a clock on it?
He did mention that he might think about that for the next.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
If you had two clocks then.
Well, yeah, you need a backup clock, right? Or again, you have one for each time zone, right? So
my disto clock in my controller, I turn it on and then I run CoCo Max and then I quit CoCo Max and then the clock's still on. It's like terminate, stay ready. Remember the programs?
Oh, okay, like it's running in the background.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's cool.
That's neat.
Yes. So it was a very chewy topic last week where, well, real-time clocks, we got to have these real-time clocks, right?
Well,
so,
I noticed you did mention during the week that you'd like to see that return.
the real-time clock? Yeah. So it's come full circle.
Yep.
So
which is
what
cool
would
stuff.
one use a real-time clock for in the color computer? What would
my question exactly for?
I think telling time would be one thing.
Okay.
Just a guess.
That was the only use case that was immediately apparent to me. Maybe it's there's something more.
I'll give you some examples from my perspective. I mean, one in Nitrous 9, it's kind of native. There is a clock module that keeps track of time. All your files are marked with date timestamps. ADOS 3, extended ADOS 3 under the disk basic side also did the same thing. So you could actually tell when you mouse modified a file or whatever. And for the CoCo SDC in particular, but like right now I'm trying to archive about 600 floppies, and I'm just dumping them. Of course, we've got this tiny little 8.3 file name, and as Stevie found out trying to do all the ADG games, you kind of start losing track when you try to take your file names down to these tiny little 8.3 things. So when I'm going through like 100 disks, and then I'm going to finally just try to run them on an emulator or something just to see what all I got archived off, I was going to try to do it sorted by date so I could see which ones I just did the last couple of weeks when I had time, instead of going through stuff I've had for months or years. And none of it's time stamped. It all says 1969 July, whatever the heck it is. So I have absolutely no idea which ones are which. So that if that's incorporated in the SDC, so it actually is aware of the timestamp, it actually can timestamp the MS-DOS FAT16, FAT32 file names on the SDC, so that you actually it'll have the real date and time you created a disk if you created a disk image while running your CoCo.
So are you saying that data is available but not being used? Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's no clock chip in the SDC now, so no, but you could. And ADOS 3 does actually have that data saved, because I mean the directory structure on the CoCo for Disk Basic doesn't use half the bytes in the directory entries. There's a bunch of empty bytes that aren't used, and our Flexor added in the date time stuff there so you actually can use it. And if you're running ADOS, you will see those.
Oh.
Yeah, and EdTASM, this EdTASM uses some of that for keeping track of things too. So
yeah, as do the assemblers under OS 9. In fact, the make utility and the macro assembler actually will keep track. If you've got a project that's made up of 15 different source files and it detects that you've only updated one based on the timestamp and the current time, it only redoes that one file. It doesn't redo the entire project. So you actually make your assembles go a lot faster.
yes, so it makes definitely.
That's a little bit more critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nick Marentes saying a real-time clock, you could make a game that changes things based on the date or time of day. So you could have your game say, hey, if it's nighttime outside, then we're going to make the palettes nighttime palettes or something like that, right?
So if you have your sound and speech pack, your computer could say good morning when you turn it on.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here's a dumb question, because I don't understand the assembly language programming as well as some of you guys do. But let's say you know, because the computer can only base how much time has passed based on how many cycles have happened or how you increment things or whatever. You could poll the real-time clock and say, you know what, every 30 seconds I want to trigger an event. So could you just keep polling that real-time clock and see if 30 seconds have elapsed since the last time, and now I want to trigger a new event, something like that?
You can do it through polling. I mean, if you're doing something that's really tightly timed, you'll probably just do the time IRQ on the Gimme. Well, it's a CoCo 3 program anyway. That's based on the horizontal sync and some other things, depending what you want as your source. But yeah, you could pull the clock chip.
All right, so I want to know when roughly a minute and a half has elapsed, and then when a minute and a half has happened, then it's time to trigger a new sequence. So rather than worrying about increments and decrements and cycle counting, you could just say, you know what, I'm going to
grab the time when you started this 1.5 minutes. Wait, and then just grab the time again until you do find it.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly.
All right, so Mr. Brain, how much is this clock going to be extra?
No, we don't know. So Sheldon McDonald says a real-time clock can assist with music playback timing too. It's cool. It's neat. I mean, it's something that I don't, like I said, it wasn't really that interesting to me because I don't think I would use it, but you guys convinced me that there's a need for it. And if we're trying to build, I think the idea here is, you know, the CoCo SDC was something everybody had, and it's the one piece of hardware that almost everybody owns. And if it had a few more things in it, if it was like a Swiss Army knife cartridge, we wouldn't necessarily need a multi-pack, you know. So the CoCo SDC gives us the ability to mount hard drives, gives us the ability to mount floppies. It's got drive wire built into it. So there's a handful of things we can do with that one cartridge. However, if it had a sound chip, how cool would that be, right? If it had a real-time clock, as some of you guys pointed out last week, wouldn't that be a nice feature? So now that we're building this wish list, the idea of Jim's extender is, if you don't want a multi-pack, you want something that's always in your CoCo, it's kind of seamless, you could plug this in, and it's always there, and it's going to be low cost, low profile, low real estate of landscape it takes up on your desk. So Chris Cromwell says, I want a real-time calendar and scheduler on my SDC.
Actually, I was going to point out two other purposes, too. Like, even on our stream here right now, you've got the clock running currently.
Down below.
Yeah. There was software, Burke & Burke released one. It actually was quite easy under Nitrous 9, but I think, if I remember, Extended AS 3 had the option, too, where you could actually throw the clock in the upper right corner while you're working on your CoCo. So you could be typing in a basic program, and the clock.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
That's what
and the second one is that you can detect if you're on Australian time, you can flip the screen upside down so it matches.
There you go.
Yeah, just to make Nick happy.
If you're in the future. If time equals future, then screen equals upside down.
I like to call right now for CoCo AI.
Artificial intelligence?
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life down here. So
We just have to wait for the disk to access. Please hold.
So I know there was a lot more news articles posted throughout the week in Discord. Maybe I can just pull up Discord and see if there's anything else that we needed to look at.
Yeah, I'll mention one. There's been a port of the CoCo VGA 64 column driver to the CoCo 1, 2, and Dragon with the Moo board, the 512K upgrade board that's kind of CoCo 3 compatible.
What does Moo stand for?
Running under Fusix. I don't have a clue. But there's a screenshot in the new Moo channel on Discord, which was just added this week, of the Fusix running with the 64 column mode.
Ah, cool. And it looks like Bruce Moore just posted too in Facebook. If we were to switch over here real quick, pictures of him and Jacob getting the game loaded up real quick here too. So here is them on the CoCo SDC.
Highlight the DC map disk and hit.
What do they got going on there? They got like a tablet open. They're
That's the live manual.
on DC Play and press enter. I assume you are using SDC Explorer.
He's reading the Zoom chat from
this
Paul.
Is mounting the
DC
map disk for Paul Shoemaker's Dungeon Crawl. Shift 1. Disk mounted in drive 1. Very good. Now what does it say to do?
Navigate over to runme.bas.
It's an instructional video.
Yes. Would be here.
Are you going to continue? I don't
There you
actually.
go.
It failed.
Yeah, they got it up.
Yeah, but you're the instructions again. Oh, there's a skeleton.
Leave it to Jacob to bring us the actual real story.
Yeah.
Your name.
Yeah, this is cool. They got it going though. Yeah, that looks pretty good, right? So they must be doing that on the switcheroo too, right? So cool stuff.
That's fantastic.
So that just came in. This just in, folks. So they got that going. Cool stuff. So real-time clock. What are some other good reasons for a real-time clock? Because it's cool. You can tell everybody we got
Well,
one.
I'll give you an example, like Paul's game, because he has that timer bar, which he's probably doing through, I don't know how you're doing it currently. Are you using the timer command in BASIC or something? Or?
It's just a 4next.
4next? So you could actually just do that by monitoring the clock and let more background tasks run in the meantime, rather than just tight lock a loop where it's doing nothing. Say, playing some sound out of that sound chip that's on the same board.
Yeah. We've been joined by Brian, the music man. Hey, Brian.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing good. Did you ever have a real-time clock back in the day, Brian?
I actually have one right now. I keep the which one is it? The Cloud9 SCSI controller, or no, IDE controller, the super controller. And I just keep that in there, and I use the real-time clock on that to do my time.
Okay, Joe Burnett says log files output. You could have timestamped log files if you're output and stuff like that. So it's more of an operating system type thing. Like, does Disk Extended Color Basic need a real-time clock? Not necessarily, but could you write software to take advantage of it? Absolutely.
Yeah, there's actually software available already that takes it. So,
OS 9 is the obvious candidate to take advantage of that. Chris Cromwell says a real-time clock can open and close my garage door on a schedule.
That is actually one purpose that was done. There has been people that made, the X10 controllers that you can control your lights and stuff with.
Yeah.
There actually was people that used the real-time clocks available back in the day, like the Disto and the smartwatch, et cetera, that actually did use that. So you could time lights on your CoCo using the real time.
Yeah.
That
you could stream video at 3 frames per second and show the times so that you could possibly see somebody who might have stole your mail in front of your house.
Like surveillance, video surveillance.
Yeah, like a Ring doorbell at that point.
Yeah. Cool. Well, looks like we'll be getting it. So, sound chips on the horizon, and then of course now, as it was mentioned, sound chips are great, but you need support for the sound chips. Yes, there are chiptune players, and you could play media files that you want to do that, but I think the end game would be to have some cool CoCo games or other programs that take advantage of these sound chips, like are patching things like Lyra or Musica or other programs like that to output to these sound chips. So it'd be interesting to have some way to use it other than just running a media player through it, right?
Some of that is in the works.
Yeah.
You can't have chips without dip.
There you go.
Canes and whips.
Uh-huh. All right, so we are going to show off some AGD stuff here, but I thought it'd be interesting to maybe have a little bit of a discussion to maybe expound on some internal discussions we were having in our Discord thing about the show, and is the show becoming an after dark show? Is the language of the show, is the subject matter of the show, are we crossing any lines here? Things like that. So one of the things I want to start off by saying is that number one, the show is live, right? It's a live show. It's completely unscripted, mostly unplanned, and we are all grown adults here, and most of the audience are adults too. When you look at the demographics, the average age of our viewers is 45 years old. So, we have Jacob Moore on here with Bruce and stuff, but I think most of our audience are not are not minors. I would say that, and when I say minor, I'm not talking about the people who work in mines and get coal, but, underage, under the age of 18, minors. So I think we have an adult audience. We're adults here, but is this a quote unquote adult language show? I would say no, it's not. We have had CoCoTALK After Dark, where we basically said, okay, we'll let our hair down in the case of David Ladd. And we won't necessarily filter ourselves as much, but the show now is at night. And has it become after dark? Are we lowering our standards on censorship or things like that? And because it's live, I would say none of this has been planned. None of this is intentional. I have never said, yeah, now this is after dark. It isn't, but, despite the time slot. But are things going to slip? Are words going to come out? Yes. Is this show an R-rated show? Not on purpose. Will a word happen? Yeah. But what's the plan?
Well, you're answering all the questions.
Yeah. So that's kind of like my thought on it. But I figured because it's come up, and what I do like about this is that we are kind of as we are this like circle of our little tight panel, we're concerned about number one, the language and that image. And number two, are we losing? Is the show getting too loose in structure? Do we need to tighten things up? Because when we got a big panel in these, the project updates can take 45 minutes. So there's been some concerns that we just want the quality of the show to be there. We want the pacing of the show to be there. So I appreciate the fact that these, those closest to the show want to make sure we're kind of, keeping the production value as high as possible. So those discussions came up. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on that. Has anybody felt like the show's gotten a little too dark or dirty or kind of lost its way in the past few weeks since we've switched to the time slot?
Well, I prefer to keep PG.
I don't think so.
I think it's fine the way it is at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have gone a little bit bluer, I guess, and not just when the time changed. It's just been like the last little while. I think just things got a little bit loose, but not excessively so. I mean, we can rein it in a little bit because I do want to encourage, like, there's some of the younger generation is getting into retro computing. Like you mentioned, Jacob, and then there's the person that actually originally brought this up on Facebook. But I don't know if there's others that just haven't said anything and said, I don't want my kids to watch this type thing. So, I don't want to let it keep slipping that we're getting more and more after darkish. I mean, on the regular show, after dark is after dark. I mean, that's to be expected. It's meant to be entertainment show more than an information show. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to see it slip too far, but I don't think it's too bad at the moment. As far as the tighter, it has been a little bit looser and a little bit, a lot more rambling, etc. And I'm guilty of it as much as anybody else. And we didn't used to do that, so I think that can be tightened up a bit. I think today's show has been a lot more along the lines of what it should be as far as pacing goes.
Right.
It seems to be a lot tighter, and we're getting into actual information instead of just rambling on and on and on about certain things. So I think it's just to be self-aware if it starts to go a little bit off the rails, that one of us helps rein it in and let's get on to the next segment or the next news item or whatever it is.
Roger
Not major issues, but just kind of keeping an eye on it.
Curtis, you're rambling.
Yeah, I admit it right up front. I'm one of the ones guilty.
Yeah.
What else is new?
Like, I would never intentionally want anything to be vulgar. just for the sake of doing it, gratuitous. I do think that, again, as I mentioned, it's live, and we're adults, and adults use certain words that children don't use, and sometimes it's just going to happen. And on the one hand, it's like I don't want people to force how they think and how they feel and how they speak, but I think just good decorum, and I think for the most part, and listen, I'll probably be more guilty than anybody else here. I will have to say that, I've had a lot of fun since we switched to the nighttime. There've been fun shows, and, it is a combination of information and entertainment. And you got to have a little bit of all those things. But I'm a little bit more conscientious of it. So I'm not a big fan of censorship, but I'm also a fan of common courtesy, And so if we can find those balances, you're always going to have that slip. It's going to happen. And sometimes some of the funniest things that have happened have been unplanned, So,
yeah.
But I'm glad that we're concerned about that, and that these internal discussions have been taking place. So I don't want to beat it to death. I'm not trying to air dirty laundry, but I figured if anybody else had 2 cents they wanted to add into the show. Does anybody feel the show has crossed any lines, or, anybody here on the show right now on the panel or watching? Anybody feel like, it's the thing that I thought that it was almost really like a badge of honor. But there was a guy who came on Facebook this past week. He goes, his first comment was, "Yeah, I'm new back to the community. I've been listening to the CoCo Crew podcast, blah, blah, blah." Somebody says, "Oh, you should listen to CoCoTALK." He's like, "Oh, yeah, I've listened to that program, and I find it to be a bit, what was the word he used? It was
sophomoric was one.
Yeah. Bit edgy and sophomoric." And so, and listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but to me, I just saw that, and I'm like, dude, that's a compliment.
Yeah. No, he did mention his reasoning for that. He has a grandson that watches along with it, and that would be kind of like along the lines of Jacob. And even Rick Adams has said, some of the stuff for him has gotten a little bit too far from what he's comfortable with. And we don't want to, start having people like that not want to show up. So,
yeah.
For me, I want to be able to come on the show and have it going. If I'd have the speakers on instead of the headphones, anything that goes on, my wife is not going to say, "Hey, why are you looking at that?" And so, keep it PG. I've worked out there, and it's the way I prefer to be personally. But and it allows the kids to come on. I do remember times that we've had people that on some other CoCo Talks, and I don't know whether it was after dark. I don't believe it was. People had to say, "Hey, I got girls here watching with me, my daughters," and so let's make this a family show. Have fun with it. Yeah, words are going to slip, and most people recognize something when it's a slip and when it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
But have fun with it. We want everybody to be involved. We don't want to drive somebody out because, it's, make an off-color joke, or anything like that, and that everybody's comfortable watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do like the kind of spontaneous nature of this show. This show is not scripted. There's not a formula. It's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And I do like that part about it. But
we're not saying change that at all.
Yeah.
No,
but yeah, we want to.
There's always going to be somebody that slips a tongue here.
Oh, yeah.
There.
That's what she said.
I think the concern has been that seems to be happening more often lately. And is that the direction the show is generally going to go? And then we're going to become, an R-rated podcast or something.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and that's not the plan. So that's not the plan, and we're aware of it. And all we can do is the best we can do, right? So have we beat that one to death?
Are you announcing After Dark tonight, or?
I don't want to do an After Dark tonight, but yeah. So one of the other discussions that we had was, and I think this would solve 2 things. So number one, like last week, we made history and we went 5 hours. Now that we're multi-streaming to Facebook has a 4-hour limit on how long a stream can be. And that used to be a long show. A 4-hour show would have been a long show. Past couple weeks, we ended up going pretty long. So if we're going to do it, again, if we decide later on, let's do an After Dark, what we'll do is we'll just stop streaming this show and then we'll restream the After Dark show. It won't be all one episode, so we'll break it into 2 episodes. We'll stop the stream, we'll restart the stream, and that will fix 2 problems. So if somebody wants to continue and somebody wants to watch something where they're not concerned about the language, well, then we'll have that outlet for that. But also, if we want to run a long show and it's going to be longer than 4 hours, we can cut it in half and do that and not have to worry about running over the 4 hours on Facebook, right? So we could do a 2-hour show. That's a regular CoCoTALK. We could take a quick break and then do like an hour and a half, 2 hour After Dark on the same night. The nights we want to do that. However, tonight I don't want to be up till midnight tonight on this show.
If we hear something we don't like or it gets us ticked off, if we could just hold it till the second part of the show, and then we can really give it to them.
Yes, that's when we'll have the EMPs and everything else. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, so we beat that one to death, right? We're gonna move on.
Yep, I'm a master at that one, Ron. So
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I think the subject's closed. I think just having it publicly out here so that people can see that and know that the direction of the show is not going that way, then we should be.
Yeah, not intentional, and we are aware of it, and we will try to be less edgy. However, I am very happy. I'm very happy to be sophomoric, and I don't ever want to change. So now, how about we get back into some more game stuff? And we started looking at this stuff last night, and so what I thought we would do, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, there are a number of releases that have been going on with this AGD, which is the Arcade Game Designer. And so this was a kind of a game engine, a game making tool that was originally developed for the ZX Spectrum.
Yeah.
Right. And we got a whole bunch of people watching us now on Mixer, because I also multi-stream out there. Hello to all of you, Country Toast and other people. Hey, hi, howdy, hody, hi there. So there's a bunch of them. When I go through this list here, there is, and I had to abbreviate them all, so I don't even know what half of them are. But when you go through this list, there's just a ton of these discs of games that have been
released yet.
Yeah. And so you can see here, I'm still going down. We started going through these last night. We might have got a quarter through the list. We were just kind of looking at them to see what they are. Are they worth showing off and things like that? So I'll go back to the top of the list. Curtis, do you know what some of the games?
The one we favorited the most between you, me, and Nick when we were reviewing them last night would be B Squared out of the ones we've tried so far.
Okay. So let me get
one
back
thing
up
I
here.
will mention while you're hunting that down is that some of the games, the graphics didn't translate all the well because the Spectrum has color and the same resolution as a CoCo 1, 2 on P-Mode 4. The graphics are translated to black and white and using dithering and stuff, but some of the colors then don't show up properly. So some stuff's hard to read or doesn't quite look right, or some of the sprites look like they're missing elements and stuff. So some of the games aren't perfect translations. I will mention that Pear has updated the tool chain, and he put a post about that on Facebook and on the CoCo list, that if people want to start converting the graphics to P-Mode 3 with 4 colors, which would look a lot better for some certain games, that he's published some stuff there to help along with that. And he's actually asking for people to help volunteer to do that.
Okay. But so what's happening is this has been a tool for people to crank out custom arcade games for the ZX Spectrum system. And because the resolution closely matches the CoCo 256 by 192 pixels, right? They've been able to port that game engine to run on our processor and on our CoCo. But yeah, because we don't have the same graphics chip and the same colors, and because this is developed by guys in Europe and Spain and stuff, and they're mostly on Dragons, which is does not have artifacting, right? Everything has kind of been monochromatic, and you do lose something in the translations. Although, what Paul Shoemaker did with his game, designed to be in black and white, everything was designed perfectly to take advantage of that. These are being converted from color to black and white, and sometimes we're losing things in translations. Now, there is a bit of a load time, it seems. So we're still waiting on this. But some of the title screens are pretty nice. Now, this has been a pretty standard thing we've noticed on a lot of these games. They always ask you, do you want to use the keyboard or the left joystick? And the keys have been pretty consistent, where for the left and right keys, it uses O and P. And if you look at where your keyboard is, your O and P are similar to, and this kind of mirrors the old CoCo 1 and 2 keyboard, right? Where you had the left and right arrow keys on one side and the up and down arrow keys on the other. So it uses O and P for left and right. It uses like Q and A for up and down, and then like space bar and other keys like that. So you can either use keyboard or left joystick, which is kind of the standard. So I'll go ahead and go to keyboard. Now this one we thought was kind of cool because number one, the animation's pretty good here. You can see me rotating this cube, right? The object of this is kind of like a puzzle. You got to get to the exit, and you have to avoid the nasty critters. Oh, and I hit a spike here. And so this one's called B squared. Now I know you guys have been looking up what the Spectrum versions look like in color, and I'm pretty sure those look better. But this one seems to favor black and white pretty well. Dang it. So we did this last night. I actually was able to
complete level 2.
Complete a level, yeah. Get to level 2.
Yeah.
You sucker. We'll try this one again. But we liked it. Now, what I do notice is there's some common things in these games here is that the enemy logic is less pursuant and more kind of planar, where they just kind of move from side to side, pattern-based, where the bad guys are just at a spot, and they kind of either just move from left to right or move from top to bottom, or maybe they bounce and stuff. But the bad guys don't seem to be as much of pursuing you or chasing you. They just kind of move around, and you have to avoid them. That seems to be fairly common with this, and I don't know if that's just how I don't know how it all works under the hood here yet. But you notice these guys they're just like basically hovering from side to side, right? So I think what I'll do is I bumped into them. Bad timing. I do like how smooth the turning of the cube though looks,
Yeah, the sprite engine's actually pretty good. It has transparency and animated cells and stuff here. So some of the animations actually look quite nice. The sound routines aren't that bad too. They're competitive with CoCo stuff we saw in the early.
Yeah. Sounds not too bad. I'm gonna try this one more time because it would be nice to be able to see me getting off the damn screen here. Yeah, this is the problem, is having me try to show off a game, right? So, get up, God.
Yeah, those enemies seem maybe just on a planar thing that they don't really change anything.
Shoot, I had it and I lost it. Yeah, so a lot of it is the timing. You really got to figure out the timing. You get the idea. All right, what was another one, Curtis? We'll show off another game here. There was another one that looked pretty good.
All Hallows was one that looked pretty good.
Oh, it was like you're moving around a pumpkin, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, the All Hallows one. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So
we had our David Ladd tribute, Baldy.
All right, so this one is like All Hallows something. All Hallows, yeah.
And here's where you can see the dithering, where the colors that would originally been like blues and purples and yellows and reds comes out as different gray.
And that's not terrible for a title screen, but some of the stuff gets lost in the games where you can't even see the backgrounds or sometimes even the foregrounds, And
that's where Pear's recommending, now that he's got the tool chain updated a bit, that people can come in and take the original 256 by 192 black and white graphics, convert them to 128 by 192 4-color, pick whichever mode you want, and then you can actually make some of these games look a lot better.
Okay. But I do like the little bouncy animations you get on some of the characters and stuff was pretty good. Like when this pumpkin bounces, you can see like little drops on the ground as he's bouncing and stuff. Pumpkin seeds or whatever. So yeah, well, it's gotta wait for it to load. So yeah, I would definitely say download these game packs and check them out. The one good thing is that the keyboard controls seem to be pretty consistent across all the games. How you play the game and what you do in the game sometimes seems to be a little bit of a mystery. And then some of them, just the black and white conversion was just so sparse that you really couldn't see the entire screen, and it was just too hard to play without knowing what was there. You lost the complete background sometimes.
Yeah, and there's lots to choose from. There's 18 of these game packs released. Most of them have 6 games on each one, so you can do the math on how many are out.
Mm-hmm. Is each game like self-contained, or do you have to load the engine first and then load the game?
No, you just run it's a thing you run. All the files, each disc
It has the game engine files, and it also has the unique game
the
files.
runtime and everything, and all this and all the libraries are all included in each disk image.
So each disk is
how do you know what's
self-contained.
loaded?
Because the title screen's here, it's still loading, so we're waiting for it.
Yeah, and some of the games run in 32K or less, which load a bit faster, and some of the games require 64K, and those take a bit longer.
Here we go. Now it finally loaded. Okay, All Hallows. Hey, Jason Downs just joined us on Facebook. Rise of the Pumpkin, a game by John Blythe, copyright 2018. So some of these games are like new brew games that people are developing nowadays for the Spectrum, and we're getting them on the CoCo. So O left, P right, M for music on and off. And I don't know if we have the music.
No, I think
we do.
Spectrum 128 with the sound chip.
So you notice that the guys, this pumpkin, his bouncing animation is pretty good. Okay, Rob's saying hit enter. So I think this is one where you get to leave the screens, right?
Yeah.
So you got a bat that's bouncing. Ooh, I just hit the spikes. Right? So the animation's pretty good. And the kind of inverse masking of these sprites, it does a pretty good job of like just reversing the background behind them and stuff.
I think that's really good.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin Becker has just joined us. Hey, Kevin. All right, let's get the bat out of the way. Can I jump? Okay, now I just moved to a new screen, right? Yeah, and so these I just climbed the ladder. And does Q do anything? Spacebar doesn't do anything. Okay, I think I'm going to fall in the fire over there. Okay. Yeah, there's fire here. I'm taking damage off that fire. I just left screen. Yeah. So you kind of get the idea there, right?
Pumpkin pie.
Yeah. So Chris Primos is the black and white on purpose. The black and white is here for two reasons. That this resolution mode on the CoCo 1 doesn't support color, but this is the resolution the games are designed in. So there was a compromise. Also, in the UK, there's no artifacting, right? So there's no, PAL doesn't do artifacting. So yeah, most of these are all black. Well, all of them are black and white for the most part, right?
Yeah, there was one that Pear had managed to redo as a P-Mode 3. It was one of the first ones released, actually, but he had to redo all the graphics. The reason they're doing the black and white here is that the native resolution on the Spectrum is exactly the same as P-Mode 4, except that they can pick, I think it's 4 colors per block for their cells. So that basically the translation engine that Pear wrote that is taking the graphics is just doing a pixel thing, and then it just dithering to try to map the colors. But if you're doing very fine details of certain colors, then the dithering might not print anything at all because it wasn't in that particular set of 8 pixels or however big their dithering patterns are.
On my Magnavox monitor, I have that switch to go to composite, and I get a little bit of color.
Some games it actually seemed to work. There was one game, I can't remember what it was, Stevie, that had the little bar across the blocks, and you could tell which ones were teleport blocks for going up and down.
Oh yeah.
So something you accidentally do.
when you look at the game directory, they all have one that's called setadg.bas. So that's the basic loader. And then there's a load up bin, and then there's a handful of other bins that are probably between title screens and game data and stuff like that. But each disk is self-contained. You run the same basic loader each time, but the game files and the graphic files are all in that one disk, right? Do you remember another one of the games that we thought was halfway decent, Curtis? That was
Baldi was one.
Baldi.
Yeah.
And remember, these the original games were 8 color. So you're going from 8 color to a 2 color black and white.
Mm-hmm. Baldi, ZX, right? So specky games, huh?
And here you can see some of the dithering patterns when they simulated the colors from the original.
Yeah, and those dithering patterns look pretty good.
Which, if you're on a large area like this, they actually do look pretty good because then it's just like dithering like an original Mac did. But if you're trying to dither a small little sprite and you've got like 8 colors, as Nick was mentioning in that sprite, and you can see some of these dithering patterns are quite far apart, then you don't actually get to see any difference at all, and it kind of just turned messy.
Yeah, Rob Inman's pointing out if you have a switcheroo, when I just flip my switch on my switcheroo, you can get some accidental artifacting sometimes, right? So this is the title screen and artifact.
The artifacting helped, and in some cases it made it worse.
Yeah. But yeah, the title screen does sit up here for quite some time, so it must be loading in a bunch of stuff. It must be loading in the game engine and the
sprite
data, sprite data, and all kinds of stuff. So
here's some color on my CoCo 1.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. Is that one of the AGD games there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good looking title screen
It's
there too.
loading in.
Ron, do you remember which one was actually redone in color?
I don't know.
Try to remember the name of the first one.
Oh, there's some color on yours.
I think it started with an F, if I remember.
Man, they take a while to load.
Yeah.
Yeah, some bigger more than others.
Here.
Is that the game?
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that does have some
Q-Box.
You just got to
Q-Box.
look at the payload later.
Yeah, so try
Yeah.
Q-Box on yours if you got it.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's wait for
Baldi's
Baldy.
Quest is the one I think was redone in color too. If you have that one.
We're waiting for Baldy to load up here. Here we go. All right. Okay, this was the one. Okay, Baldy was the one, right?
So those platforms that have the blue bar on top are the ones you can go vertically, if I remember.
Yeah. Okay,
What's that
then we're
remind
gonna-
you of with the arrow?
Canyon Climber.
Or Puyan. Puyan.
Puyan, yeah, Puyan too, yeah. All right, this one's going to be a trick. All right, so you got to get that cassette thing, but how do you leave the level, I wonder? How does it end?
You have to get so many of those cassette things, I'm presuming.
It's possible. Oh, here you go. We got 3 or 4 of them. Oh, now the graphics change. The game speeds up.
And you get 2 arrows.
And you got 2 arrows. Okay. That's actually pretty cool. Okay. And is that like a lunchbox for him that he's getting?
I have no idea. I did try to find directions, and quite a few of these games don't have any directions at all. Others sometimes are written in Spanish or whatever the native language of the person that wrote it was.
Okay. So you get the idea. What was that one you were showing, Ron? It was called Q something?
Q-Box. Q-Box.
Q-Box.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a look at Q-Box.
I
So,
thought it's a good deal. They're cheap.
yeah. So I mean, the good news is that we're getting a lot of games ported to the CoCo. Yeah, and it's not costing us
CoCo
anything.
1, CoCo 2, CoCo 3.
It's called Happy Days.
Yeah.
There's over 100 so far. So
Oh yeah. Q-Box.
So what would
Q?
stop someone from porting it to the CoCo 3 and taking advantage
There
of
it is.
the colors?
The engine would have to be updated.
Yeah.
But that would be a nice thing to do. All right, so here it is. This is the one that Ron was showing off. So let's get the accidental artifacting here.
That's a little different than mine here.
Yeah, because I think yours was blue instead of red.
Mine is because I'm on Channel 4 TV. What's the Pope?
Q-Box. Must be the guy who made it. So this one was made in 2017. So these are all new brew games that are being made for the Spectrum that we're now getting.
and some of them
access
are
to.
actually arcade clones too. Like we've seen some Donkey Kong Juniors and stuff.
Yeah.
Engine as well. Unfortunately, that's one of the ones where the graphics didn't quite translate as well.
Yeah, the lack of color really hurt that.
But they're all platformers. Did I hear or read that right?
It seems to be a common thread there. Yeah.
I think because of the way the engine is set up with sprites and the tiling and stuff that's probably the easiest.
I got quite a bit more color on mine.
You're special, Ron.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the vertical scrollers use a different game engine. Because I asked Pierre today about it, why there's no vertical scrollers like car games or shoot 'em up ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was one car game that was boxes. Where your cars are made up of little rectangles.
Oh yeah.
Old school, that one was.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they take a while to load. Get yourself some tea or something, right? So, how about we run a commercial while we're waiting on this thing to load? Here we go.
Oh, there it is.
Keyboard, left joystick. So we have
And there's your
LP,
keys down the bottom there, yeah.
All right, so I think I'm going to try left joystick on this one because that's like way too many keys to keep track of. All right, so we're going to try 2 for left joystick. Level.
This is
0,
difficult.
ready.
I'll tell you right now.
Oh, look how smooth that rolling is. Oh, and you can see. Oops, I fell
See?
in the hole.
It's hard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very hard.
Okay.
That animation's pretty good.
Yeah. And it looks like you got some one-way squares. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
arrows there.
yeah. Yeah.
And here the artifacting is working. You're getting that kind of shadowy look. The red.
Yeah. I left screens.
You have to pick those up in the right order too.
I don't know. I don't know what the hell I just did there.
It just bailed you out.
Yeah.
See if you can grab that number 2, or if not,
yeah.
Can you jump?
The directions are. It's weird because
Yes.
you're moving at an angle, but you have to move.
Left,
you have to
right.
move the joystick straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
That's
screwing it from my
better.
brain right now. Yeah.
Yeah, this might have been easier on keyboard actually.
It says
Yeah.
you have a lot of stamina, though.
Hey.
That's what you, oops, I'm not supposed to do that on.
All right, so we're going to the right. Son of a biscuit! I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know which direction is which. Okay, that's down. This would be left. Okay. I hit the controls in this thing. All right, we're going to try keyboard. Okay, Rob says, I believe if you hit enter during the load screens, it can get past it sooner. I usually look at my SDC light when it goes off. I hit enter. Okay. All right, next time I die, I'll switch to keyboard and we'll see. I like the graphics of it. The controls are just really screwing with my head there. Screw you, game.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Same thing.
All right, we're going to start over and we're going to try keyboards.
Well, typical Steve.
L, P, Q, and S. L, P, Q, and S. Oh, at least the keys are angled. All right, so S, that's S. Oh, this makes the keyboards make perfect sense actually. Enter spacebar. Okay. Okay.
Unless you got to completely run over it or something, but you might have to get them in order. You might have to go up to where that 1 is at the top there somehow.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, the keys here make perfect sense. Oh, look at that.
Oh, you jumped.
Yeah, it's really smooth.
You should be able to jump over to that 5+ then and go get the 1 then.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have
That's
to
the
go
plan.
get 1 first, though, I bet, huh?
Dang it, I hit the wrong damn key. God damn it. Where the hell am I?
You're still there.
Where am I? I'm lost.
Your standard is still
shit.
there.
Sorry. After dark. S.
Go,
S.
go.
There we go. I got it. Okay. Q and S. All right. There we go. So now that's the 1.
You're very sick,
good
though.
Lord. Okay. I get it, though. I get it. Okay. I totally get it. This is neat. This is challenging. It's now like a puzzler.
It's kind of like Marble Maze with mind
Yeah.
rolled into it or something.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's my health.
Yeah.
That's my health thingy. Okay. All right. Yes. So it's Q and S. That's S. And I just got the 2. See the numbers adding up there?
Yep. And once you get them
Okay.
all in order, then you're on to the next level.
Yeah, I just fell. All right. We get the idea though. Yeah, it's going to take me a lifetime to I just
Yeah,
can't.
it's like Airball, Mine Roll, Marble Madness.
Yeah.
everything
Yep. So, I think there's definitely some hidden gems in there. Part of the challenge is the color, and does the subtraction of color take away from the playability? And that your mileage will vary on what it looks like for you and how well you're able to do it. They're interesting games, and there's a lot of them.
Yes.
So if you've got some time, you can start to download these things and fire them up. The nice thing about them is they will work on a CoCo 1, a CoCo 2, and a CoCo 3, and a Dragon. So it's just instant software that you can try out and see how you enjoy it. It's cool stuff, though. It's a great project, and I think there's the possibility for this to be extended has got to be there, right? Because if we could have the CoCo 3's got a 256 by 192 mode, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So we could get a CoCo 3 version of this with color. We could get some sound support because the Spectrum game supported an AY chip. So that is already built into the code to support that hardware. We just got to get the CoCo implementation of it. So it would be kind of interesting to see some of these things with more color and with some music and sound and stuff. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's basically 3 levels of implementation. You can do on the CoCo 1 and 2. If you redo the graphics like he did on the one Flippy game or Foggy's Quest game to a P mode 3 or either screen color set, whichever works better, you can get 4 color games even on the CoCo 1 and 2. That'd be the first immediate thing, which is what he's encouraging people to do right now. 2 is to extend it to support the AY chips like the Speech Sound Pack, the Game Master cartridges, etc. So you can start using that. And then the other, like you mentioned, is the CoCo 3, because then we can put up to 16 colors per. That would require a rewrite of the entire graphics engine it's using, though. That's a bit more extensive.
Right. But to add sound would be cool. P mode 4 would be kind of cool. Neat. Yeah. So it does take a while to load. So the ability to show these off live is going to be a little bit counterproductive, but maybe we can spend some more time, maybe pre-record some stuff and do a showcase on these later on.
Yeah. Unless Rob's little trick there of hitting enter when the title screen's up actually speeds it up, like he's mentioning. Like maybe there's a timeout we're waiting for.
Who knows? It's possible. Anything's possible. So
yeah, it works.
Ron, how many of these games have you gone through? Ron,
how many of these games have you looked at in these AGD games?
Oh, I have about 20 of them. I don't have a whole lot, but
yeah.
Any favorites of yours besides the ones you've shown us already? Or?
Yeah, Prelude to Chaos. There's the first 4 Aeon ones were pretty cool. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that was a 4-disc set. I remember that one. It was like one game was 4 discs.
Wow.
So each has their own strengths and weaknesses. Most of them are playable. You know, just the keys you have to get used to, or the mouse.
And now, since you've taken a look at some of that we haven't seen, is there anything that goes beyond a platformer? Like, is there anything that's a different style, or is it all the same? You know, you're running through a maze and.
I think the sounds sometimes are what you wouldn't expect. You know, they're different than some of the games you play on the CoCo are usually, you know, beeps. And these are tinkles and different, you know, they sound different. They put some thought into the sound, you know.
Neat.
That's what I notice anyway. And I'm not a gaming guy. I don't play that many games myself, actually. But I do.
Yeah, neat. So yeah, I'll try to get some more of these in the background and look at some of these and play with them and maybe get some videos. You know, after I've tried them a few times, maybe try to record a couple summary videos of some of these games. I just find that they're very unforgiving because everything is very timer based, where things are moving at this precise pattern, and because the controls are hard to handle, you've got to be able to fluidly steer and dodge and duck in between these moving bats and boogies at a very exact time. And I think that's most of the challenge of this type of game and this type of design.
Why do you keep saying time and timer?
Oh, because real-time clocks. Yes. So,
I thought so.
Yes. All right.
It's kind of like Frogger style, where you're just dodging stuff moving specific patterns. For the most part, there's a couple we hit that actually had firing and stuff. If I remember, I just can't remember which one it was.
Yeah,
there are a few that kind of go outside the box of just a straight platforming type thing. So it'd be interesting to see what else they're doing with the engine, what the engine's even capable of. I'm not even sure. I know there's been multiple versions of it on the Spectrum.
Yeah,
I think they're on version 4.7 or something now, but.
You almost think, because what's happening now is it seems like that the engine's being, well, I guess the Spectrum engine's being ported to the CoCo. I'm not exactly sure the process here, but it would almost be kind of cool if we could get a new engine for the CoCo 3 that was designed specifically for the CoCo 3 that's not ported, that you can then just take these games and drag and drop them and put them in there and they work. I don't know.
I mean, we do have graphics libraries now. We've seen a few and reviewed a few that have sprite engines and everything else built in them, but they're libraries. You still have to program in assembly language to get them done.
Yeah.
What I understand from the AGD is that it's just you set up rules, you draw sprites, you draw tile maps, and it does.
It's almost like object-oriented programming, where you just every sprite's an object, and you give it its attributes, where to go, what to do.
That's what I understand. To be. I've not
basically you script it with the engine, and it's a high-level language, but usually very simple to do that. Yeah, that's been something that's been under consideration, but requires time.
Yeah.
That's neat,
CoCo
though.
has had game designers before. We've had adventure game designers. We've seen some recent versions like Evans. There's been ones that were done back in the 80s. There was the arcade. What the heck was it called? There was an arcade game style game designer that was actually called, I think Game Designer was actually the name of it. That was out in the early 80s too. I remember seeing it. It was quite expensive, so I never bought it. Very interesting to see, how that works. And then Sundog for the CoCo 3 released Graph Express, which allowed you to write basic programs that called these routines for doing like windows and sprites and multi-voice music in the background and stuff too. So
neat.
Nothing quite as set up as this, where this looks like you don't even need that much programming experience to set them up. You just have to be able to draw the maps, draw the tiles, the sprites, set up some rules for how they operate, and you're pretty well done. You don't have to do the whole game logic yourself, which all the other CoCo solutions we have so far do.
Right, you still have to write the program. You just given some tools to use within your program. Right, this one's almost the programming language is there.
Yeah, Amiga had a program that you could, design that, and you had to work within, a set of rules of what it's going to do and there. And so, the limitations you could see either could be within the game engine, or the fact that most of the people creating the games are not programmers, and therefore maybe not be using that game engine to the maximum that's capable of too.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think what I'd like to propose for this evening, because we've already gone on about 2.5 hours, let's make tonight a short show.
Can I make a quick update then before you quit?
Sure. What do we got here?
We got OS 9, Nitrous 9 on a Model 1. Nitrous 9, because it has a 6309.
Radio Shack color computer. Yeah. It almost looks like you're doing something in Color Scripts right now. So, yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
All right, John
rare.
Strong. John Strong has got a update he wants to tell us about. What's going on, John
Well,
Strong?
I was able to, at least today, finally get this wired up correctly, and plugs in 2 joysticks into one port. With the switches on the joystick, it can smoothly switch between 2. You can leave them plugged in at all times.
So if you don't know if the game requires left or right joystick, you now switch them.
Yes. Okay.
I have a good product name for this. How about call it the Switcheroo?
I think that's used.
Okay? I think I would call it the real switcheroo.
But so that's done. The design was simple. It's just getting the wiring done in a way that's easy to do. I have versions of it, but
drawing arms
with Valentine's Day going on and unexpected overtime at work, it took a while longer to get done what I did to do it. But it's functional, tested it out, finally fixed this morning or this afternoon, and it's running. So
and that supports the 2-button and the 1-button joysticks?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's the idea is to be able to switch it, you have to have one of my joysticks that has the switch on it, this version.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just I can make a version, and I need to do that, and I'm going to do that with a PC board that'll have a switch on it, and then to be able to use any joystick or Tandy mouse. Okay.
That'd be cool. You can even switch between, like, say, a trackball and a joystick or a mouse or whatever.
Right. This was kind of done because the switch. I have a switch that double pull, double throw, but it actually has an off position on it in these, which is a little hard to find. So in the joystick, it has that. So basically, I turn the power off to it, and to the joystick to be able to switch the actually the controller part, the buttons are still active. So if I have these plugged in and you press buttons, you can be on either joystick and pressing the button. But as far as the stick is disabled, and that works just fine. But if I put the switch over here, and I can basically do that, you can turn off the power to any joystick. If the power's off to the joystick, that all those lines are floating, therefore they don't affect anything. Okay, and so you have a simple way to switch it. Okay, and so this is just all kind of keying off of things that you guys said, and like, oh yeah, I can do that. You know, the other,
and unlike Jim Brain, you didn't complain about it either.
Well, people kind of beating up on Jim Brain a little bit. As like I said, I pointed out there was some tape over that. It's like, okay, there's more to it. Let's wait. Okay, and
does it have a real-time clock in this joystick switcher?
Okay. Oh, we could put a lot of stuff in this joystick. Okay.
So you can time it at night. You play off the right joystick port, and then on the morning you play off the left joystick port, so you can organize games you're playing.
I actually thought about the video just to handle all these things and drop a bunch of different chips in here. Okay, screw up the button. Says okay, has a real-time clock, has a voice synthesizer, and all this. It does rattle a little bit.
It's only 1995.
Yeah, it may not work, but it's in there.
Some assembly required.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to point out is Ron asked about mean time between flare on the switches, and I still don't have that. But I did take apart one of the switches, and they look very much standard like a keyboard switch, okay, which usually has a very good mean time between failure. It feels nice, obviously. So it looks like, that type of style of switch, okay? So they should hold up pretty good. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's kind of my updates. These work really nice, being able to switch that. And I'm coming up with some possible names I may use for it. Thinking maybe Roman mythology names and with the arcade style, maybe call it Janus, because Janus was like two-facing, so you could face it either way.
Neat.
Okay. And so that's a possible, name for it. Looking at some other things like that.
So we release it before March. You can call it the Ides of March.
Yeah. So that's kind of my, quick update. Is this stuff works, and basically I knew it would
be very handy for doing Stevie doing his game reviews here, not having to unplug one and plug in the other. You just
well, the thing that made me go and do this is he asked about the two at the same time, the analog and the other, and they're kind of hard to fit together because the size are different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with the stick and the analog. I thought, well, one thing I always hate doing, I'm using a mouse to do this and that on the computer, and then I got to change it because some games just can't play with a mouse, okay? And so I have to unplug it if it's using the same one. I said, okay, I understand where they're coming from. And this is really great. Do that. The other advantage of not having the switch in here is, I could make 8 of these. If you had 8 devices that had the switches on the device, and you could just turn them off. The disadvantage is, of course, if you leave one on, then you're going to have some interference between the two. So you have to go on this one, have it to the center on the switch, has a right and a left, which indicates where the buttons are facing, and whether you left-hander or right-hander, you may prefer to play it differently. A left-hander may like the buttons in the same position. Another right-hander likes it. So it just basically specifies which direction the buttons
you
are
have
facing.
to add some LEDs there so you can tell which way it's facing and which one's active if you've got 4 in the chain.
Well, actually, for you on this, on throwing everything in, I thought about pulling one of the little laser modules out and dropping it in. why do just the LED when we can do? Okay.
It's a laser light frickin' show coming out of the joystick. Yeah. So yeah.
Have a laser pointer. Well, not only that, it's a laser pointer here. Your mileage may vary. LED might be something I'll have to think about.
Well, just to tell what orientation you've got it set up for, like if you're doing a left or right, or if you've, like you said, you could make the cable with even more than 2 joysticks and you could switch between them all. And you're worried about, if 2 are on, that it's going to interfere with each other. Well, if you have a light showing which ones are on, then you can say, I got
a little bit, that makes it, a little bit more viable, idea. With that is embedded. I don't know if you can see on that, we do have a left and kind of right are kind of indented in the switch to show you on the joystick itself which one's side's there. So it kind of helps a little bit there. The power on's pretty easy. Find a place for it. And so, the concept works. Feeding off some of the ideas that you guys had, most of it's very simple ideas, just implementing it.
If you plug it in and the lights don't dim, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the magic smoke doesn't get let out. This is all passive. Also, in the works, there's some other cool things with our joysticks that I'm planning. This is just the first step of things.
Mm-hmm.
I've showed you some things like a thumbstick design I'd like to work on. There's other stuff that can be happen. The idea of doing a joystick that you can have 4 of them hooked up to the computer at the same time. This was kind of suggested to John Lindell. Somebody needed to make some kind of card or add in, and then my response back is you don't need a card. You can really actually do it. Just having spatial joysticks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've just been joined by Tony Pedraza again. Hey, welcome back, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
And
there's a question from Rob Inman. Will these be readied by CoCo Fest?
I hope to have some at CoCo Fest. That's my goal.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
And
it's going to be a really expensive CoCo Fest for me, you guys. I've got to buy 8 meg boards and 2 meg boards, joysticks, games.
Luckily, I've got more cash this year now too, so
I might be
afford to buy
up for a loan there, Stevie.
Yeah, you're good.
Well, I will. I do have a limited quantity of sticks right now, and I'm hoping to but I have enough to build 3 more. That's not. Well, I think Stevie, I don't know if when you want to get yours, you spoke up for one, but I have 2 other sticks here right now that I can build up.
And which one do you have now? Is it the spring loaded or the free floating?
It's the arcade is what I've got right now.
Oh, the arcade. Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I have 3 more sticks. This one is spoken for, and the analog spoken for.
Just tell me how much to send you and PayPal you, and I'll send it over to you.
Okay, I'll have to see what they weigh in the package to get it shipped. Okay.
Courtesy of Curtis Boyle. So.
Okay. And so I do have.
That's gonna bounce.
3 more sticks here in stock. Okay, and once I get paid from Stevie and from the other guy on the sticks, which is I've been the delay. I'll be ordering more parts.
Cool.
So Ron, if you want something shipped to you, get on the list here for me, and we get maybe before CoCo Fest if that's what you want. But that would cost you shipping.
Tony, you're here, but you're muted. So hey, Tony Pedraza,
I'll stop talking and let other people go.
Zoom chat is muted. Okay, Tony is unmuted. Hey, Tony, how are you?
We're doing well tonight.
Happy Saturday evening to you. Thanks for joining us at the tail end of the show at this point, but we're glad to have you.
Well, I've been listening for about an hour or better, but couldn't figure out how to get in.
Oh, you did it.
Well, I cheated. I asked directions.
Yeah. Men aren't supposed to do that.
Like Steve,
what can I say?
For a game, just does
yeah, right. Yeah, it's like I don't read the directions for the games either, so that's okay.
Also, Steve, I don't know if you saw it. I sent a link. We're going back to the AGD just briefly. I threw a link up to the Spectrum list of the games, but the very top of the page is actually a list of the menu for the actual game designer itself, because we're talking about what kind of things you can set up in the game.
Okay.
Should be in the disc or Zoom.
Yeah, I see it. I'm not sure how easily that's going to show up on my screen. So Spectrum Computing.
Yeah, and then that blue screen there that you see there. I don't know if you can zoom that.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a character set. We have blocks, screen layouts, events, sounds, save game, miscellaneous, jump table, keys, load games, sprite positions, objects, palettes, sprite images, text, window area, and test game. So is this the one for the Spectrum though?
Yep, that's the actual one that these games are created in. So I just wanted
this is the
to
one
show
that's
you the menu look
actually
like,
for the Spectrum. You know what? It might be interesting to get this tool and design some stuff and just run it on a Spectrum emulator just to see what it's like to do it in a native platform, and then take that and then figure out how to CoCoize it. You know.
Yeah. And if the fact is, if you design a game with a CoCo in mind on that thing, then you can get around some of these graphic glitches with dithering and stuff we've been talking about. You can actually design it to look like a Paul Shoemaker game, for example.
So let me go ahead and I'm going to paste that in the live chat too.
Wouldn't it be cool to have Per just show us how he does it on a video, maybe?
It would.
Maybe we'd ask him somehow. Bring him on the show.
Yeah, or it's also on... it's probably on some of these forum posts that they're doing, this World of Dragon forum posts and the GitHub and stuff. So I think the information's out there. It may not be, for the average non-programming civilian, easy to digest, but I think some of that information is out there, but you kind of have to pull it all together and make sense of it. I'm a big fan of having it all distilled down to an easy-to-watch slideshow or video and have it spoon-fed to me. I hear what you're saying, Ron. But yeah, so I mean, it's neat. And I think the Spectrum is an interesting system that maybe we could all gain an interest in, since it's now we have this kind of cross-pollination of some of their software on our systems. We might gain an affinity for another vintage machine.
And if you design games on it for 256 by 192 two color black and white, then it would look the same on both. So you could actually make it multi-platform by design and have the graphics quite nice.
True. Cool. Hey, Nick Marentes, did you want to give us an update on Gunstar? And also, Tony, did you have anything you wanted to update us with what's going on with you or Glenside or CoCoFest, or are you just jumping in just to be...
There is still not been any the past week, any more applications sent in, unfortunately. So we're kind of stagnant with the known attendees. There'll be a special meeting tomorrow. Well, not a special Glenside meeting, to try to get some ducks in a row to smooth out the incoming and registrations for this year. So all of you are invited, but you got to get to the Chicago area. Well, not really, because I guess we're having at least two people telecom in, that being our president and Bob Swoger. Bob Swoger, by the way, would be real interested in hearing about these games for the Spectrum, because that is a machine that is near and dear to his own heart.
Oh, neat.
So, yeah, that's about it. Not really a whole lot regarding CoCoFest, but
I was going to ask how the vendor list is going, because I think you had 5 open tables in the main room the last time we talked. Is that still the same?
There are 5 locations available in the main room. If they fill up, we will have overflow. Unlike Tandy Assembly, where they were limited, they didn't have anywhere else to go. We're trying to keep the people together in the main room, using the secondary room, trying to use it specifically for somebody who just wants to have a chair and put their feet up for a while, bring their stuff back to, instead of having to run all the way to their room or something, or just set up a system and play around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Brian Weisler. Brian's joined us. It's been quiet in the background there. Brian's muted, but hey, Brian, glad to have you. And so, Nick, did you have an update on Gunstar you wanted to tell us about, or just point people to your...
No, nothing official. I'm going through designing the graphics for level 1, so just still takes a long time. So I've got nothing really new to talk about or show.
Okay. And Brian, the music man, anything going on with you wanted to let us know about that you're doing, or getting ready for CoCoFest or anything?
Just getting the stuff together for the CoCo Fest and gonna box up all my speakers into 2 cases so that instead of having a bunch of speakers, just a pair.
Okay.
They're Marshall stacks, though, right?
No, they're shoe stacks.
We've had a pretty good turnout in live chat. Let me just go through and go back and say hi to some of the people who've been with us in the live chat throughout the show. So Rob Inman was here. Al Hartman was here. Mark Overholzer says, I won't be able to attend tonight. And shame on you, Mark Overholzer, because Ron Delvaux was here even though he was sick. So Perry, I can never pronounce Perry's last name, but we'll call him Perry D. Curtis Boyle's been in the live chat. Bill Noble was in the live chat. Perry D. Al Hartman from Jersey. Tom C. from Jersey was here. Tim Franklin was here. Joe Burnett and Tony Bryza was here. Wayne Aaron was here. Terry Steeg was here. D. Bruce Moore. Mikey was here. Our good friend Mikey. He likes it. He likes it. Ken Reichert has been here. Nick Marota has been here. Perry D. Eric Canales was here. Terry Perry. Rob Inman. Tom C. Mark B. was here. Who else was here? Nick Marota. I was posting it. Don't forget Paul's website. So it's Paul FE3 at swbell.net if you want to get yourself a copy of Dungeon Crawl from Paul Shoemaker. Ken Reichert, Rob Inman, Tony Palm, that's Bryza. Sheldon McDonald was here. Nick Marota, Chris Cromwell, Joe Burnett, Nick Marota. Some people in Mixer were here. And Nick Marota and Rob Inman and Chris Cromwell and Kevin Becker has been here. And Mikey, Rob Inman, Ken, Rob, Skyhawk21. That was Tony, right? So Tony's here. Rob Inman's here. So we have caught up with those who were in the live chat. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Have I missed anybody? Does anybody have any closing remarks, parting thoughts, words of wisdom, words to live by, words to die by, anything like that?
I've got an SDC question.
Oh, go ahead. I've got a hardware problem. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a way to assign 2 physical drives in OS9 off of the SDC, or can you only access 1 drive?
Oh. I believe I understood the question, but I don't know the answer.
I don't see why it wouldn't, as long as you had 2 different descriptors.
I've done 1 drive and 1 SDC, but I've never tried more than 1. So I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, I've had 2 drives mounted up. It's SDC0 and SDC1, or SD0, SD1. You use the SDC command to mount your images and stuff.
Right, underneath OS9?
Yeah, the Nitrous 09.
Okay. I'm going to try that.
If SD0 and SD1 loaded, then you should be able to mount whatever.
You should be able to, yes.
Yeah, I've got I got DD, SD0, and SD1 already in there.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll just have to have it so that I select 2 different images, then 1 regular, 1 for data. Cool.
Yeah, you can use the SDC command to create and mount and that sort of stuff on the images.
Wow, there we go. We got a question asked and a question answered. Hey, we provided a useful, valuable service to the community this evening.
Yep, it's the first time for everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's about the first time. Hey, Brian Weasler, we didn't hear from you. You're still muted. Brian, can you hear us, or you're unmuted now?
Yes. How's it all going?
Good. Anything you want to help play us out to? Wrap us up, catch us up on anything?
I'm hoping to have a very nice show and tell item next week. It's on its way.
Okay.
A teaser.
I actually have one thing I could show and tell as well, besides the dungeon crawl that I showed off. I'll show you guys one more thing. It's kind of sort of CoCo related. I got to switch to my full screen. So, does anybody recognize this?
It's a Dell monitor.
It's a Dell monitor.
Dell monitor.
But it's a very specific Dell monitor. It is the 2007 FPB what is interesting about this Dell monitor?
Kilohertz.
Well, this has DVI-D, VGA. It's got composite input and an S-video input. So this is a flat panel 4:3 aspect ratio VGA monitor that's perfect for retro systems because you got S-video and composite input.
You found it how?
Well, I've had it on my eBay watch list forever.
And
so it's yeah. Well, they're always, they come and go, but these are so they're hard to find at a reasonable price because people know that retro guys want them, and so they get to be really expensive. So this one I got, it was $70 with shipping, and so that's not bad. With it? Yeah, it's got the stand. I just took it off the stand so you guys could see the inputs easily. It's freaking heavy too. Like it's really heavy for a flat panel.
I might have one of those.
Yeah. So yeah, so there was a period of time when Dell had these early generation. What's that, Ron?
I might have one of those.
Yeah. What are the odds of that, right? So
if it's a real heavy,
So I'm probably going to bring that with me to CoCo Fest to show off my CoCo VGA that I'm hoping to have installed and upgraded by then. So
that'd be cool because then you could switch. Like you could plug in the composite and then
yeah, you can plug in composite and show off artifacts and everything too. Yeah. So yeah, I've had it was actually Ron Klein who turned me on to that monitor. He said I got one or two of these and I use them because you can plug just about anything into them. And so I've been watching them on eBay for probably 2 years now, and I finally found one where the condition was good, and that was the price of the monitor that included free shipping. But usually, if you can find one for $30 or $40, they want like $50 to ship the damn thing to So to get one for under $100, I thought was a pretty good deal. So it's just
what model was that?
It's the 2007 FP is the model number for it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's nice because it's 4:3. It's like one of the last square monitors that was flat panel that has VGA, DVI, composite, S-video. It's even got a USB hub on it too. So like if you wanted to power up a switcheroo or something, you could, I guess. Like what is that there?
That's a Samsung SyncMaster.
Okay.
1501, and then on the other side over here is the 1701.
Okay.
And so they work perfectly, especially they have VGA and all that stuff too. And they were $5 at Goodwill.
Neat. Yeah, that's a good price. Yeah, SyncMasters. Yeah.
Yep. People don't want anymore.
Ron finds some stuff. All right. Well, I think we had a good show tonight. We had a good show. We kept the language clean. We kept our clothes on. We avoided censors, all kinds of stuff. So,
going to the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah. It's just shy of 3 hours. So that's a normal CoCoTALK. Hey, James Diffendaffer, just in time for say goodnight, everybody. James is here. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hey, James, what's the topic?
I don't know. I'm waiting to find out. Unlike some people.
Hey, there's the train. James brings the train with him. Yeah. So
that's why he called in, just because the train was coming.
Yeah. Yep. And Bruce and Jacob Moore were here, and so Craig Stewart was here with us earlier. Lovely Curtis Boyle is still here. Ron Delvaux is here. Bryce is here from Australia. Brian, the music man. Trying to spread a virus?
Yeah.
Oh, because you're sick. Yeah.
Feel it?
Tony. Yes, we feel it. Yeah. Tony Pedraza, Vice President of the Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest, is with us. Brian Weasler is here. Paul Shoemaker, creator of Dungeon Crawl, has joined us. Thanks for being here tonight. Paul, thanks for adding another piece of software to the CoCo library. A nice one at that. Mark Bosley's been here. Thanks for being here, Mark. From Down Under, Nick Marentes was here with a few of his neighbors. Craig Stewart was here. Bryce is here. Bill Noble, thanks for being here. How's it going?
Hey.
And just in time for us to say goodnight, Irene, James Diffendaffer. Hey, James, anything you want to update us on as far as what you've been working on?
Not really.
Oh, man, come on.
James, what do you think about real-time clocks, by the way?
I think we should not talk about that.
All right.
Let's not string people up just because they don't have a real-time clock on their soundboard.
How about a
All
fake
right.
time clock instead?
Fake time clock, yes.
How
Fake
about-
news. Like fake news, we got fake time.
Programmable interrupt timer, that's another matter,
How about bad words on the show?
We kept the potty language to a very low minimal tonight. I think it was just me playing a game. I have my outburst. My Tourette syndrome kicks in when I'm playing video games. So, all right. His phase 1 of the CoCoTALK outro is beginning in just a second here. We got 22 people still watching us live, 25 including Facebook. So, hello, goodbye. All right, so we're gonna roll credits, and we'll be back right after the credits for the post-credit discussion. So this is not the end. This is only the beginning of the end. But here we go.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon link on our site at CoCoTalk.live. CoCoTALK would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Karen Anscombe, Simon Jonason, and many, many more. Special thanks to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and to Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, and Rob Inman for all of their bonus content and contributions, as well as Roger Taylor for getting us on the CoCo TV channel on Roku. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its contributors. The CoCo Crew podcast at cococrew.org. Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest at glensideccc.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations at go4retro.com. Tandy Assembly at tandyassembly.com. Boyson Technologies at boysontech.com. Get your own switcheroo and wallaby cable at cocoman.biz. Cloud9 Technologies at cloud9tech.com. CoCoTALK is hosted by Steve Strobridge. Co-hosts, technical directors, segment hosts, and producers Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Grant Leedy, Mark Overholzer, Ron Delvaux, and Jason Reichert. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
What?
How does it feel? I'm still believing. How does it feel?
All right, and that is it. Another episode of CoCoTALK is in the can. Thank you all for being here. Any final thoughts? Or are we all good?
Every time I hear our music play, I think, geez, he must have 2 meg. You can hear it to the end.
I gotta get that. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to spending lots of money at CoCo Fest this year. Just getting one of everything. Walk in there like I own the place. I'll take one of those. Take one of these. One of these. One of those. I want one of everything. Yeah. So.
Good thing you're driving then, because you're going to need the room.
I know.
Remember
exactly.
Supermarket Sweep back in the day?
Was that like the game show where you ran around and picked stuff up? Yeah.
Tried to buy
CoCo
it
Fest
if you
sweep,
can.
right? Well, yeah. Between all the exhibitors and vendors and then the auction, who knows what we're gonna have this year? But I remember last year they had that awesome Tandy 1000 system with all the manuals and everything else. I'm like, I can't fit it on my plane. It's a little too rich for my blood, but I don't know. this year, go big or go home, man. I'm gonna bid high. I'm gonna bid on everything. I'm gonna make Alan Huffman cry. So I'm gonna buy crap I don't need just to corner the market. So.
Man, I should go just so I can bid against you.
Is that corner the market, Steve, or just piss them off?
It's all to make sure that we have CoCo Fest next year, because next year is the 40th anniversary, right, of the CoCo?
Yep, sure is.
That's awesome. Cool. All right, well, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you all again for being here. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right, we're pressing the button in 3, 2...